late out here. Oh, that's about right. Oh, I don't have anything lined out tonight, Jeff. It's been a boring week. Nothing really to do. Say I got all the stuff done at the lab to do, and I need to get started out at the ranch. We drove out there a few days ago, and the road's still pretty sloppy. Hello, Mr. Virtue. Um, and say I need to pull the RC46 crusher over to Lauren's if we can, and do just a little maintenance on it. Probably put in a new what do you call it? Toggle plate. I'm pretty sure I didn't want it, John, so I sent it your way. But say we need to work on that a little bit. Lauren's got plenty of stuff to do, so we're probably not going to do a major refurbishment on it. Although there may be some things, depending upon how much we tear it apart. Hello, David. Hey, Lito. How close am I to I-90? We're about 60 miles north. Now, if you're going on I-90, if you take off near Deer Lodge on Route 12, if you're going east, take off at Deer Lodge near Route 12, you'll have one pass that's of significance, and that would be McDonald Pass. It's a standard grade up to the summit from the west, and an 8% grade down for 6 miles down from the summit heading east. Once you get to the bottom there, it's pretty much a flat run to I-90 at Three Forks, and then Helen is right along the route. Good 2-lane road the whole way. So it's, if you wanted to do that, I presume you're driving a semi. If you were, it would be just a fairly easy diversion that way. The other way is if you're in Butte, then you head north, and it's up and down over 2 passes to get to Helena, about 60 miles. So, say if you're just driving along I-90, I would take the diversion as opposed to get to Butte and head north. You're probably going to save miles. I know you're going to save some uppy downy. Okay. So that would be my thought. And say if you're going to be cruising on I-90 and want to divert to Helena, let me know a day or so ahead of time. We should be able to meet you. Love to do lunch or whatever. Can you rebuild the toggle plate or have to replace it? We'll probably just have to replace it. As far as I know, it's probably like a piece of 1/4-inch strap, basically, and it's just worn down on the edges. And so it's just allowing too much gap at the lower part of the movable plate. If you have a jaw crusher, the RC46 has a stationary plate there, a movable plate here. You have bearings here with an eccentric. And then here there's a toggle plate and a spring. Okay. When this wears out at both ends, because it's just, all that does is it just works it back and forth like this, then this gap is going to open up here. And right now it's so big that in the rollers underneath, the rocks are so big they won't pinch. They're sitting so far up that the rollers can't grip them, and it causes problems. So I've been running it without the rollers for most of the stuff I put through last season because I was just using it as a jaw crusher. Hey, Shaggy.
Bye.
And yeah, it does, Dave, but it's a lot better if you're driving a semi than coming up from Butte. Now, that is I-15, but it also depends. Are you empty or full? But anyhow, so say if that toggle plate's worn, that's going to open that gap. And once it gets that out, Shaggy says hi to Eva. And so once the rocks get above about 3/8 of an inch, they have trouble getting pinched in those rollers. They won't grab it. They just bounce around on top. And that just jams everything. Hello, Mr. Lodak. Yeah, if you don't weigh much, then yeah, it doesn't matter. If you prefer a little more miles, but all freeway, yeah, take I-15 north out of Butte. Then once you're in Helena, if you're heading east, yeah, you could. I think 12's a nice road. It's all flat down there. So anyhow, so that toggle plate right there. Say, I think the answer just worn on it. Yes, we are in Helena. As a matter of fact, right there is Highway 12. I could literally hit it with a rock, no problem, especially from the elevation up here at the Penthouse. So, yeah, no problem. Say if you come I-15, that's about 2 miles that way, easy to get to. So,
are we gonna have company?
Possibly.
Cool.
I say we could meet you over there. Dave showed me a good restaurant right on the freeway. It's pretty tasty and had plenty of parking. I don't think there'd be a problem there.
And good service.
On the other hand, if you like Chinese food, we know a good Chinese all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet in town too. Although I prefer lunch. Well, I prefer lunch. If you go to lunch, it's like what, $5 a person cheaper than dinner?
Yeah, it's like $11.50 per person.
Yeah. And
amazing egg drop soup.
Yeah, it's really good. They have amazing egg drop soup. But even I don't do seafood that much there anyhow. Everything else is so great. Hey, honey bunny. So we just go to lunch, You're right. You're here, honey bunny, on time. So I say we have some options there. I think they're closed on Tuesdays, right? The lunch is seafood on Monday, so it's more expensive. Closed on Tuesdays.
Yep.
But
we
now
usually go on Wednesdays.
Yeah, but the place that Dave showed us, didn't show us. He hosted us. He hosted us for lunch there. That was pretty good food there. That would be great, Lito. Yeah, just give us a little warning, and so we can make sure we can hook up with you. We'd love to do so. Wow, honey bunny. I don't know how you get a signal through baling wire, but you're better than I am. Anyhow, so I say that's it. My brother will be here next week, and I know the primary plan is to, yeah, me too, honey bunny. The primary plan is fishing and visiting and stuff. I'm going to see if I can make sure he brings his pickup. So if Lauren doesn't have a free day between now and when my brother gets here, we can take his truck out to the ranch and at least get started on a couple things. Boy, you guys are good at this electronic stuff. Bubble gum is the insulator and the baling wire is the ground. So anyhow, yeah, that's, boy, an innovative group here. So I say that's basically the situation. As far as I know, the RC46 is okay, except for the toggle plate, which kind of got wore out last year, putting was it 13.5 tons through it. But we also need to get that the Stutenroth, get the little crane on it and get that done. And so that's, again, I'm just getting fidgety because like there's stuff to do. And I want to get it all done and ready to go by the time my family gets here with that engine and we get the truck running. I've got the steering box, I've got the pressure hose, I got the power steering pump, I've got the new fuel bezel and fuel funnel for the one side. I don't know if I told you guys, but somehow, I don't know how, I have dual tanks, and one of the fuel, I'm pretty sure it was the vent hose. Yeah, it had to be the vent hose. Came off of the tank, got underneath the rear tire, which just plucked the fill neck out of the plastic bezel and just plucked it all off of there. So all I did was I just plugged everything up to prevent dirt getting in of it and go from there. I've been using both tanks because it's got a return line from the fuel pump and the valves aren't completely sealing. So it actually, if I'm running off with the driver's side tank and it's pretty full, it'll generally transfer a little bit into the passenger side tank. And so I can, fill that up to where it's pretty full and then just run it a little bit and get it down again and keep enough in there where I got like, 2/3 of a tank as a reserve. If I'm not doing big mileage stuff, that's all it is just a reserve. So get that fixed. The the spare tire rack. When I was out there with Dave looking at that possible claim out near Boulder, I got the driver's side tires in a ditch, drug the spare tire and broke the bolt that holds one end of the spare tire rack. And amazingly enough, it did not come off until after I'd come back to town, done some stuff, we were out to Montana B, and on the road to Montana B, the dirt road, just before we got there, the spare tire rack was just hanging on the other bolt, and finally the tire flopped off of that. And so I'm sitting there as I, drive up to the truck in the quad. I was out there camp or whatever. I see the spare tire rack just hanging there with no spare tire on it. And I'm like, okay, missing a tire. And I was worried that it came off on the road, or it becomes a missile. But when I drove back up the road, it was about a half a mile up the road. And so I was able to recover it. And then when I put the spare tire rack back on, I used a bolt that was 1 inch too short. And so while we got everything torn apart for the rear suspension and everything that we're working on, I'll get that changed out too, and that'll be fine. I'm just glad it didn't come off on the road where it could have hurt somebody. I don't mind losing the tire as long as nobody gets hurt. But if you're driving down the road 60 miles an hour and a 16-inch truck tire comes loose and just starts flying down the road, that could get really, really bad. So that's the only thing, that was important. Everything else is minor. Even if I'd lost it, it's like, I don't care as long as nobody got hurt. But anyhow, so we'll get that done. We got the rear spring bushings, the rear spring hangers, which are slightly cracked. I've got those on me here. I've got, the rear spring bushings, rear spring shackles in hand. I've got the power steering box and all that other stuff. I just need to get 2 new motor mounts. There's no sense changing an engine out without changing the motor mounts while you're at it.
Well, that's an interesting take on
And
things.
it's like $26 for the pair. Right now, money's real tight because there's nothing really happening, and motor mounts are, routine stuff, easy to get. So I'll wait until my next Social Security check.
The German government's gone insane again.
Well, what did the German government do?
They're claiming that incest is a fundamental right.
They're claiming that incest is a fundamental right. Is this
Yep.
adult incest? Or is this...
All it says is a government-backed group said relationships between brothers and sisters should be legal.
Well, if they're adults, I can see that line of reasoning. If they're not adults, I cannot. Hey, Paul, how's it going? So, going back to factory spring settings. Well, I'm just keeping the standard factory springs on there. We may get that. We may put some airbags on later. Right now, I don't have the money. If I go up to Great Falls for a day, we can put the Hello Asakura and put the truck at Swain Spring and have them pull the springs off, reshape them, put them back on, whole 9 yards, $900. That's my thought, Mr. Virtue. My goodness, Paul, what happened? That sounds really uncomfortable. But I say I got everything else in hand as far as I know. Well, I do have to have the return line for the power steering pump. Yeah, John. But that they said they need to know the length, so I guess I got to take the old hose in. And so again, that's pretty routine. Don't think that's going to be an issue either. A lot of cleaning to do on that truck. Radiator, again, we've got to wait till we're tearing it apart before we take the radiator in and get it refurbished. But I say we got about everything we can do right now until it's time to start turning wrenches. I really want to get on that RC46 and the Stutenroth, and also get to the mill and see what's sitting on top of the precipitation covers. See what the amount, whether or not any of the solution has come through, and then the if it's nice clean water, I can just pump it off and throw it away. An F-250 rolled over me a bit when I knocked the truck into gear on accident, punching out the firewall. Some for exhaust and didn't block tires. I didn't have it off the ground, so I didn't think I needed it. Well, maybe lucky that you only have a couple broken ribs then. F-250 is pretty big. Sometimes life is not very forgiving. Oh, I've had some near misses on the track level at United Nuclear, but I don't know if you guys know what spragging is, but when you have a train and wheels come off the track, sometimes you can take a brace, and here's your car. You can just put it like this and then push, and it'll pick it up. And then if you angle it properly, it'll pick it up just till the wheel clears. Then it'll go sideways, and that'll drop it down, and you can put it back on the track. And it's a lot faster than jacking it up and then jacking it sideways. So spragging can work pretty well under some cases. And one time, specifically, we had a particular switch that was worn out and needed some maintenance. But there was one time that I put the train back on the track 13 times in one shift. in an 8-hour shift. You know, so I say it works a lot faster. We even went one time and took a big shiv block and hung it from the chain link in on the back. You know, put a cable through there, hung it up there, then put a cable on the shiv block to the hitch on the car to pick it up and set it back down again. Yeah, basically, Paul. Very similar process in terms of general theory. Say it has the problem of if you don't get it just right, it's going to go the wrong way or it's going to go too far over. It takes good coordination between the guy holding the timber and the motor man. Works best on an empty train where you got more control and you're not having to push so much power to it. But yeah, I say it can work pretty well. Another thing is when you have a switch on a rail, for those who have never done it, let's say you got one set of rails that's going this direction, and then you have another set of rails that's going off this direction. So what you have here, you have something called the frog, and it has both grooves and both rails going both ways. And they're just a little cutout here and a little cutout here. Basically, it kind of does this. And they call it a frog for some reason, which I have no idea. Okay. Here you have what are known as points. Okay. You'll have a hinge here and a hinge here. And so, let's see. This will swing out this way. And this would swing out. No, they go the same direction. Let me see here. I'm trying to think. Because I know they go the same direction. Yeah, okay. This way here. So these are called the points, and they're sharp. They're like this. And so when you swing it this way, this point engages, it runs onto this piece of rail here and creates a straight section, whereas this one swings away and allows the wheel to go past it. When you push it the other way, then this will catch it and run the train that way. When this gets worn out or these get worn out, you know, where this is kind of all fiddle farted up, yeah, then they won't guide the train properly and it can easily come off the track, which is highly undesirable. Well, there's instead of an oak wedge, they actually make a metal re-railer, or actually it can be used either as a re-railer or derailer. You know, when used as a derailer, it's set on the track so if a train or a car is rolling freely, it'll actually pick the thing off and drop it off of the rails. If you use it in a re-railing situation, then the wheels will go up on the steel, center themselves, and drop back down again. No, it was, I think, 24-inch gauge, 2-foot gauge track. But yeah, we were running 4 tons for the locomotive and about 4 tons in each ore car. Um, the because it was wet, there were places where the ties like to move, and I say it was underground. Also, by the side of this, there's a ditch lined with just steel. Like, here's the rough ditch. Then you just have these essentially semicircle, 10 feet long, made out of rolled sheet metal. And you just put them in there in a shingling type setup so that it directs the water all the way down the track. The track has a steady gradient all the way to the shaft. The water drains along the piss ditch to the shaft. From there, it's pumped out. But let's say that's what we did where I worked, and it was small rail, and it wasn't super well maintained. But we did. I tell you one thing: if you're driving spikes into wood ties, a air hammer, I mean an air drill, an impact thing with a proper tool was really good for that. There's the spikes done. And because this rail, eventually the rails themselves wear out. You lose your gauge. They get too wide. Your trail the wheels can actually fall inside it. Things like that. And so we replaced the rail from the shaft to the drill doctor's shack, 1/8 of a mile, something like that. We were doing it on graveyard shift. They'd shut down the track level, and we'd rip up so much old track, put in so much new track, hook it all up, call it a night, and go back to operation. And forgot how long it took us to get it done, but I mean, we were doing, I don't know, it seems like 100 feet a shift, something like that. I think there were 20-foot rails. And as I say, it was, we get, I think, about 5 rails in a night. Just tear it all up and put new stuff in. Yeah, track maintenance is not very like all maintenance. There's not much glory in it, but if you don't do it, things go ugly. And yeah, nowadays rubber tire equipment works pretty well. Where we were actually mining, we were using rubber tire equipment because it has a lot of vertical independence. As your ore just does weird stuff, it's a lot easier to follow it with a rubber tire loader and trucks than it is with a rail. But the rail level was underneath about 100 feet, and it did two things. Number one, they would run the track drift hundreds of feet ahead of the mining and drill long holes in fan drilling all over the place to drain the ground before they started mining it, because we were 1,000 feet under the water table. And so you had to drain the ground before you could run rubber tire equipment, or it was just nothing but splashing through lakes. And that doesn't work too well. So that was one thing. And the other thing was haulage. For long distance hauling, the rail was a lot more efficient than having to drive rubber tire trucks, small rubber tire trucks, a half a mile to the shaft. So, I say the track drift was underneath. You would have chutes between the levels that could hold, 8 to 12 truckloads of material. And so you had surge capacity there. And it just took a bit of coordination between the rail crew and the muck crew as to what they were doing, but it wasn't too bad. And yeah, it has to agree. And again, the track level was set at like a 1% or 2% grade. You're going uphill empty. Of course, that also means you got a good drainage for the water that's coming from the ends of the drifts where it's just draining the bedrock. And then you're coming downhill loaded to where braking is your only issue. So it worked out pretty well. And I say I'm not sure exactly what the grade was. I'm sure it wasn't over 2%. I think it was probably about a 1% grade. I never did any mining on the track level, so I don't know. I think we had one mining crew on the track level at the level I was at, and one long hole driller on the track level where I was out. Yeah, exactly, honey bunny. Excessive grade on a haulage means extra wear and tear on everything. I say that's why I think it was 1%, but I'm not sure. Whatever that again, that's where the mining crew did their thing. It was a husband and wife team, and he was a big dude. And she wasn't big, but she was strong. She could hold her weight, but she was usually doing the less strenuous stuff. But I mean, she wasn't as big. She wasn't as strong looking as Honey Bunny at all. But I say she was no lightweight. She could definitely hold her own. She pulled her weight, and they did a good job. They just whatever the engineers wanted them to do, they'd move forward. I think they would generally get around a day, but I'm not sure because when you're dealing with track level, you not only have to drill, blast, put up your ground support, but then you've got to lay your track. And so that takes extra work. You got to cut notches in the floor for your railroad ties and then advance the temporary rails. So it adds significant effort to pushing 10 foot of advance compared with on the rubber tire level where the loader just digs out the shot, goes away, and then the miners come in, put up the ground support, drill the next shot, and blast it. And I'm sure they were supposed to get about one round a day. But yeah, it was interesting. I liked working underground. Wasn't too thrilled with the safety culture of that particular mine. Never went out on my back, but I got, let's see, one, two, at least two treatable injuries in a year and a half. Okay. It was usually 10 feet per shot, honey bunny. They had 4 foot, 6 foot, and 10 foot drill steel. And so the deepest hole they were drilling with a jack leg was typically 10 feet.
Oh, that's nice.
So we did have one crew down there that was pretty good. That when we ran out of dynamite one graveyard shift, and they couldn't get any more dynamite down till day shift because it's special techniques, special authorized persons and stuff. He just grabbed a loader and dug 20 feet of tunnel in a shift. The sandstone was fairly soft.
Oh, Bill Gates is at it again.
Okay. No, they were not. They did not couple together. You'd have a 4 foot steel, a 6 foot steel, and a 10 foot steel just sitting there. You'd You drill one, pull it out, stick in a longer one, shove it in, you know. Wow, honey bunny, you're tougher than I am, but then that doesn't surprise me a bit. And so that's basically what they do. It's a little trickier when you're drilling back and putting in bolts and things like that. Um, I was quite it was quite fun watching I don't know, 5 foot 6 inch miner putting 10-foot roof bolts in a 10-foot ceiling. That was pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with jack leg drills. It's got a pneumatic extension leg and everything. And once he drilled, he's drilling the hole, takes it up to about here, that drops it down, puts in a longer steel, runs it up. When he gets his 10-foot hole, then he, drops it down. And I'm like, okay, now's what he's going to do. Because now he's got to put an impact wrench on it. So he can't just let it go up there and kink the hose, because he's got to hold on to the impact wrench to push the trigger. And so he just let it take him up to the back, tighten the bolt, shinny down the leg, kink the hose, caught the impact as it came down. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, I said it. All the miners are fairly strong. Okay, you have to be, because the impact. Well, the jack leg itself with the leg was something like 90, 95 pounds, something like that. I mean, they're not light. You put a drill steel in, it's over 100 pounds that you're lugging around trying to set up. Even with you balancing it on the leg, it's something that you have to have a lot of strength, but skill is important too, to get it properly balanced, etc. And yeah, the trick is, honey bunny, speed. You're getting paid by the bolt. You're getting paid by the square foot of chain link. You're getting paid by the ton of rock you drill, you blast, and you shoot. So setting up platforms, oh no, that takes too long. Besides, you leave a platform down there, somebody's going to steal it and use it in their thing. And so that was one of the problems there, was people, because you couldn't count on stuff being there the next shift, people would hide things and stuff like that. I mean, I've gone behind a bulkhead and seen a jackleg drill just laying there so that somebody knows, okay, if my drill breaks, I know where I've got a spare, you know? You're moving too fast, honey bunny. You're moving too fast. You're changing locations. I mean, this thing is changing a lot day to day. You go off for a long change, where you're gone for 3 days, and that tunnel could have easily advanced 100 feet. 3 rounds a day, 10 feet around, 3 days, that's almost 100 feet. I say, the reason they wanted to steal, they didn't want to take it home. You couldn't really take it home. They just wanted to make sure when they needed one, they had one. And so they, powered man lift would work. Yes, it would, if you could get it there. Again, trying to get it. It's a 3-dimensional maze. A habit trail looks very simple and coordinated compared to what following all that ore underground wound up as. It was a 3-dimensional mess. And some of the slopes were such that a 2-wheel drive haul truck would get stuck. Say you had everything from blow sand to basically to mud. Well, any equipment you send down the shaft takes money to buy, money to send down, and more. The maintenance on it too. I mean, this was a harsh working environment, and so things would break, and maintenance was never fully staffed. They were always behind. They were always just trying to get it running and get it back into service instead of, okay, we'll spend an extra, shift to fix the other stuff. A classic example, we had a brand new loader down there, and it had a 4-cylinder Deutz air-cooled diesel engine. And it was about 2 months old. Now, when it comes from the factory, it has a big fault light, it has a horn, and it's got full gauges and everything. In 2 months, the fault light was broken, the horn was broken, the gauges were broken. So somebody went and ran it out of oil, blew the engine. So they changed the engine, took them 3 shifts to change the engine, put it back in service. They hadn't fixed the gauges, the fault light, or the horn. So a couple weeks later, it threw the fan belt and toasted the engine again. We had a saying, we never have time to fix it right, but we always have time to fix it again. You know? And so, yeah, exactly, honey bunny. It was very much a matter of penny wise, pound foolish. To do it properly, they would have saved money in the long run. They would have gotten more production in the long run, but it was very, very short sighted thinking. And it was pretty bad. And they weren't paying a lot of it. I don't know. Let's say it was just bing, bing, bing. One time, I mean, I was supply man for a lot of this, a year and a half. And we got a load of hydraulic oil that came in, and I'm looking at it, and I've been paying attention. I read the labels, and the drums beforehand had all been 15 weight hydraulic oil. Okay. This stuff says 30 weight. I go, well, that's odd. I've been here 6 months, never seen any 30 weight hydraulic oil before. So I, told the mechanics, this is 30 weight, not 15. Is that okay? They're like, sure. Well, yeah, then they started blowing seals and hoses and everything else after a couple of days. They had to drain all the hydraulic fluid out of everything and replace it with 15 weight, And that's like, why didn't you just check? It's not what you've been using. It wouldn't have taken much effort to talk to the manufacturer. Whatever you had to do is call Surface and say, hey, what's going on there? So I say it was pretty amateurish in many ways. We also had a standard thing whenever you had a safety inspection, the graveyard shift before the safety inspection, everything was shut down so the maintenance people could get enough stuff legal so that when the inspector showed up, you're actually doing something,
Well, that sounds really nice.
Oh, yeah, it was ridiculous. We had, it was just insane sometimes, some of the stupid stuff they did. You really, it taught you need to be your own safety person. Never trust anybody else. Don't trust the engineers. Use your head, use, good judgment. Because, if you get killed, you ain't got a second chance. We had an inspector one time that he came down, and the mining crew was working in an area that it was good high grade ore, and it was the only high grade ore on that level right then. Problem with uranium is you have radon gas, so you have to have proper ventilation to keep that radon into legal working limit. Well, this particular area, they were running 3 working levels of radon. So the inspector said, okay, you got to stop working here, pull everyone out, and, get a ventilation crew in here. So a couple of weeks later, he comes back and they're still working. They still haven't got a ventilation crew in there. And he says, okay, done playing here. Build a bulkhead right now. Put up the timbers, put up the laggings, spray it with foam, and, then you can get it fixed. Well, he was thinking, he says, I don't trust these guys. So when he went up to surface, on the way to surface, he'd forgotten and left his notebook in the x-ray shack. So when he got to surface, he goes, oh, I forgot my paperwork, and rings himself right back down. Well, since where he'd left his paperwork at the x-ray shack was only a few drifts over from that area, he decided to go check. And by God, as soon as he got on that cage, the station tender had called the shift boss on the mine phone saying he's on his way to surface. So by the time he got back down, the bulkhead was busted down and they were mucking again. The word is he almost had a stroke. I mean, his face was purple. Okay. He wrote every citation he had on him. He emptied his citation book. It's everything is like, you're not wearing proper glasses. You're not doing, he just wrote it all out. And when you got a citation, let's suppose that as a miner, you're not wearing your glasses because they get covered with mud. It makes it very hard to see. So, well, there was 1,000 people working there, Honey Bunny. It was a pretty big mine. But anyhow, so you'd have some blasting wire, so that you could just hang them here. And you could usually tell whether someone would wear them properly or not because which side are they dirty on, But anyhow, so there was all kinds of things. Like if I was a miner and was not wearing my glasses, it would be a $300 fine to me, a $300 fine to my supervisor, and a $300 fine to the company for that one citation. So, let's say, anyhow, that's the kind of safety atmosphere we had. So, yeah, let's say it was an interesting place to get an education. That's the first place I started mining. And so, let's say, I learned a lot. Learned a lot on how to do it right. Learned a lot on how to do it wrong and how to keep from getting hurt when things are being done wrong. We had one guy, you started out at that mine if you didn't have any previous experience as a grizzly hand. Now, this means a grizzly is just a big grate. In this case, it was like 2x4-inch steel with 16-inch holes between it, in a grate. It was sitting on top of a raise. The trucks would back up, dump on top of it, take off. And your job as grizzly hand was to make sure all the muck goes down in the hole. As long as it was fairly dry and fairly well broken up, the stuff would feed pretty well. If it was mucky, if it was muddy and sticky, if it had big rocks in it, well, then's when you earn your pay. And so that's where you start. And some days it's a lot more work than others. But we had these two-wheel drive trucks, and they were They were set like the old style tractors where they have a single rotating column in front with two wheels set at angles, like as I said, like the old tractors, and then a straight axle and back just bolted to the frame. And because you're running in mud and stuff like this, they didn't have wheel brakes. They had a drive line brake. It was a disc brake. And then on the transmission itself, there was a little drum brake as a parking brake. And so all of your braking goes through your drive shaft. And this one guy backs up his truck, dumps it, and then goes forward. And I could just see his drive shaft jump when he went forward. And whoa, stop, forward, back. I mean, he had like 20 degrees of slop in the drive shaft. Those U joints were gone. And I told him, I said, man, your U joints are crap. This is going to, break any instant, and then you're in real trouble. He says, you think it'll hold together till I get it back to the shop? And it's like, no, park it right there and walk back to the shop. Because again, if you lose your drive shaft, you lose all your braking, and now you're in a three-wheeled vehicle, which is pretty darn tippy, in an underground mine that's just going everywhere. Nothing's straight up and down. You get sideways on a curve and you touch that rib, it's just going to flip that truck right over. And they didn't have roll cages either. So yeah, it's like, no, don't drive it. Just park it right there. That's it. End of story. Walk. Oh, Lord. But that's what I mean. I mean, it was crazy.
And American mining is supposedly safer than in third world countries.
Oh yeah, we had one guy that worked there. He went down to a mine in, I don't know, Venezuela, something like that. He said 110 of us went in there, and 6 months later we were down to 85 still living. Yeah, they are safer than third world mines.
Okay.
Oh dear, that's unfortunate, Alex. He said there was a mining death in Idaho last week at the Galena mine. What happened? Do you have any information on that? Whenever there's a death in the mining industry, the mine rockfall, huh? Okay. The Mine Safety and Health Administration puts out what they call a fatalgram, and they mail it to everybody. And it describes what happened, what went wrong, etc. And they have all kinds of things that are fairly straightforward. And then you see some and you're like, wow, that's just evolution in action. The one I think I found the most amusing, if you can call it that, was 2 miners were fatally injured when the explosives they were storing underneath the workbench they were welding on prematurely detonated. Okay. Can you see how many violations you have here in one place? Oh, geez. So, anyhow.
I don't think you're supposed to store explosives under your workbench.
No, you're not. Yeah, pretty much, Paul. And I say some of them are pretty bad. Like one guy was, yeah, pretty much, Honey Bunny. I think there were caps there too. And they had this one. He was cleaning out the tail roller of a conveyor, and somehow he got his arm caught in there, wraps his arm around the tail roller, and instead of ripping it off, it jammed the tail roller. The breaker or the fuses blew, so that stopped the tail roller. But the feeder was on a different circuit, so the feeder kept working, and they figured it probably took 15 to 30 minutes to bury him alive. And I was like, well, that really doesn't sound like a lot of fun, you know? So that was kind of the most, yeah, I really don't want to do that one stuff. Yeah, as I recall, they had both caps and Class A underneath the bench they were welding on. Don't even, they might have been electric caps. I don't know. All I know is that was the fatalgram, you know? Yep, that'll happen, Alex. And, you know, that's the gross vehicle weight rule. Whoever has the most gross vehicle weight rules. Stay the hell away from haul trucks and loaders and anything that can run you over, especially that can't see you too well. I'm wondering, I think the new trucks have backup cameras on them now, which sounds to me like an excellent idea. You know, it's like above the rear differential up in there, they'll have a camera because visibility sucks behind a haul truck. It is horrible. So that's a good thing. But yeah, you know, it's just they're very large, they move, and they don't slow down for anything short of another piece of heavy equipment. I know that was it, I think it was BHP was doing that. But anyhow, big iron ore mines in Australia were working on automated haul trucks and stuff like that. And a lot of it is nowadays getting pretty much autonomous.
I don't trust autonomous anything.
Well, they have a number of safety procedures. For example, they run on their own dedicated roadways. No people are allowed on those roadways. Well, the diesel electrics are pretty much old school, but I mean, they were around long before the transmission driven trucks because they just couldn't make a transmission that could handle 3,000 horsepower and the shock loading. But are you talking line power electric haul trucks? They'd have to have some kind of battery backup for small areas, and then they'd have to hook, come in underneath the trolley assist. One nice thing about that is as they're going downhill, boy, that's not going to work too well, I wouldn't think, Alex. The battery is going to be so heavy that, yeah, I don't think that'll work out too well. Yeah, weight, hazard, lifespan, charge cycle, say nothing cost. So if you were using a trolley assist where you had a variable DC motors, and then as they were just using the batteries, would just for maneuvering near the shovels and stuff, that wouldn't be too bad. And the trucks coming downhill provide energy for the trucks going uphill through the trolley. But to try and run it all on battery, nah, that's stupidity. But never underestimate the power of human stupidity, especially when a government's involved. Yeah, I say that's just Some people just can't do math. Did you hear that Germany is shutting down its 3 nuclear power plants? Its remaining 3 nuclear power plants in the middle of an energy shortage. Yeah,
They're celebrating this.
that's going to work out real well. Yeah, you can use battery power for, you know, small uses, short things, stuff like that. Like, if you had like a tractor or something like that for, a little locomotive where you're working on a very shallow grade, and then, you got a spare that's on the charger, that might not work out too bad. Say, especially if you can, coming downhill, you can use the weight to generate power. But to do it over long distances and heavy haul, like a whole truck, yeah, I agree, honey. Oh, I have no idea what Germany's doing besides committing suicide, but who are we to critique considering what we're doing right now? Oh, until we blow up the gas line again. Uh, yeah, if you had it just right, that could work. If you had exactly the right situation, Alex. I'm afraid you're correct, honey bunny. Okay, what's Nasara Jessara? Paul, let's see. Let me see if I can. There we go. Control C. Open another tab. Put it in here. Control V. Whoa! All kind of some kind of Oriental symbology there. Nasara and Gasara. I have no idea. You're going to have to help me because everything about it is just an Oriental. What do you call those? They're not. Are they ideograms?
Yeah, I believe they're ideograms, Bear.
Huh. I have no idea. Well, there's still one left, Mr. Virtue. Each one had 2 lines. They only got 3 out of 4. Plus, Russia says it can fix it. Let's see. Yeah. Wants the minerals used to come from the USA, but then he keeps blocking the mines. Yep, sounds about right. Did you hear that some of the money we're giving Ukraine is being used to buy diesel from Russia? No, but it would not surprise me in the slightest.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Anyone got me a link on that one? National Economic Security and Restoration Act and Global Economic. Oh.
Is this another 50 Shades of Government bullshit?
I'm not sure. The amount of money spent on diesel is small enough, not billions of dollars. It wouldn't really matter, honestly. I don't know. These guys seem to be very ideologically inclined. They don't seem to really care about economics or practical applications or anything like that.
No, why on earth would they? You can't let reality get in the way of a good agenda, dude.
We have so many strategic metals acts passed, and yet nothing is happening because globalists make sure you can never get the paperwork done. Yeah, I'm getting that feeling pretty definitively, honey bunny. We're trying to see what we can find out here in the capital of Montana, but we're not getting much feedback from the governor's office.
Well, we'll just have to get a little bit more
Yeah.
dedicated about going over there on a regular basis.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Control V. Sara, National Economics. I don't see anything. The National Economic Security and Recovery Act, and then it's just all ideograms. Let's see, executive order something here. Implementing of certain sanctions set forth in countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act.
Oh, yeah.
That's Donald Trump thing. Not sure. Alex says a big nickel mine in Idaho was just about to open, then decided not to a few weeks ago.
Well, that's great. I mean, gee, we don't need nickel, now do we?
Alex says that Montana almost banned mining in its entirety a few years ago. Well, that may not surprise me, Alex. How did they word it? You know? Because that's, say, usually what they do in something like that is they come up with some neat title and it sounds really good, like the Child Protection Act, which means we're going to protect children from their parents, preventing them from getting, transgender surgery or something. That's how they like
The
to.
Inflation Reduction Act, which is all about climate change.
Yeah. He said it was a really ambiguous bill about environmental impacts. Yeah, that's the way. We really don't want anyone to harm the environment, blah, blah, blah. Hi, Patrick. In Arizona, we had one once where they were talking about, it was an anti-trapping measure, but it said, we, the people of Arizona, and, desirous of maintaining our animal and pest populations by only humane means or something like that, I forget what it was, would be very easily to translate into no hunting, no trapping, no, you couldn't even put out a mouse trap, I agree, honey, man. The problem is trying to find a conservative politician instead of a rhino. You're not allowed to say that, honey bunny. I'm going to, let's see. I'm just going to remove that.
Did somebody say something really
I
bad?
think she might have meant that mice, but yeah. Yeah, Alex said it was a one-liner footnote in the bill, said something like mines had to prove for perpetuity that there be no long-term impact, which is basically impossible. I already got it, honey bunny. I'm learning. And yeah, exactly. That's how they like to do this stuff. Yeah, I understand, although that can get pretty expensive. Yeah, again, open to interpretation. That's the thing. We don't want anyone else interpret. I don't have a problem. I'm just trying to protect you. Yes, Alex, that's exactly what they do. They put some little thing somewhere in the law that looks innocuous on the surface, but when you get down to the nitty gritty, it's like, okay.
Well, like that law in Washington State.
Yep, exactly. That's right, Alex. And then afterwards they say, oh, no, you can't. That's not you can't adjust that. Yeah. No, it's getting pretty insane out there. Um, I don't know. Have any of you guys noticed the latest James O'Keefe thing that he started doing? We're going to do a little research on that.
O'Keefe Media Group. OMG.
Yep. If you haven't heard of it, it's rather interesting.
Look up O'Keefe Media Group.
Yeah.
You can become a citizen journalist.
Yep. But yeah, it's interesting. They found it's the Federal Election Commission website that has the data, right?
I believe it is, but
Yeah.
I think O'Keefe I think they put together a searchable database by state that you can get to from his website.
Yeah. But anyhow, yeah, they found apparently a significant number of people who have supposedly been donating several times a day to the tune of well over $100,000 to certain liberal groups that when they actually went and knocked on the doors and asked them, said, no, I didn't do that. That's right, John. Yep. The legislators never read this stuff. James O'Keefe is a crook, huh? Well, no, James O'Keefe is a journalist. They're the ones that it used to be called Project Veritas, where they'd get the hidden camera videos and stuff.
And then when James exposed Pfizer, all of a sudden they forced him out of the company that he started.
Yep. And it's the sort of thing I pay attention to what's on the video, you know? And I think he's been sued numerous times and never lost.
Yeah, he has been.
You know? Sorry, Alex. He started another company called O'Keefe Media Group, or OMG.
Yes, OMG. Go to his website. You can become a citizen journalist.
Okay, little one. Paul Coover says Mike Gill found the world's largest money laundering hub on earth in New Hampshire, and James was in on it.
Gonna have to look into that.
Well, check it out. Okay. Did you throw away for Budweiser? I don't drink beer. I don't drink much at all, and I only drink just before I go to sleep because that's basically what it does to me.
Most beer is remarkably like carbonated mule pee. Budweiser is low quality carbonated mule pee.
Yeah.
Stands to reason they'd have a fake chick promoting it.
Yeah. YouTube, State of Corruption, New Hampshire. One of the problems we have, Paul, is that it is so easy to make something that looks plausible on the internet. It becomes very challenging in some cases to sort fact from fiction. So I usually don't trust any single source that I haven't been watching for a long time. I will look at stuff, but I don't say I won't just sit there and go, that kind of goes against everything I've seen so far, but I'm just going to believe it. But I will take a look into it usually. Lars says, I sent a sample of Budweiser to a lab once. They called me back and told me that my horse had diabetes. That's a pretty good. That's a Lars joke there. That's pretty good. Yeah. And especially right after you had that school shooting, that was by a transgender, and say, even had the ad in itself not been pretty poorly, this is a wrong ad for the wrong customer base, in my opinion. But they just had a shooting. They just had some activists defend the shooter. And then, yeah, go ahead, Doug. Ask me a mining question.
Oh.
I'm not getting any mining done right now due to weather. But if you got a good question, rock on. We've just gotten a little bit off topic in the last few minutes. Yes, it's kind of lasting a long time, Alex. You know, I'm not sure what's going to happen tonight, Douglas. It's not a big mining night. It doesn't look like. And describe your analytic process. Okay. Now, by analytic process, are you talking basically? I look at a new project, and how do I go through that? Or are you talking more the laboratory stuff? Okay, because that would make a difference in how I go about it. Lab, okay. In our lab, we're analyzing for different things, and we can do it to different accuracies, etc. When it comes to analyzing hard rock samples, Eva is just getting started on its essentially conventional fire assaying. The one thing that we will do differently than most labs, we do not have a really precise balance, down to the, multiple hundredth of a milligram sort of thing. So we will be using optical measurement of the bead and a chart to determine what the weight of the bead is. It's not as precise, but on the other hand, it's something that we can do with a minimum of cost and hassle. Now, the solution that's at the mill, we use titration to determine what the concentration of Eco Goldex is. That's where you put an indicator in it. You're talking the bead chart? Not yet. It's not. That's a good point, because Chris was working on that. Douglas, if you want a copy of it, if you send me an email, I'm sure I've got a PDF on my computer, and I can just send you a copy. And that goes for anybody. If you want a copy of this bead size chart, just give me an email. My Adventure on YouTube. No, I don't believe I've seen that one. When it comes to solution analysis, we need to know pH. That's easy, pH meter. We need to know Eco Goldex concentration. That's fairly simple. That's a titration, and they send you, if you ask, they can send you the chemicals for free, to do that. In the case of the gold concentration in the solution, we do that by using the KD3 solution. KD3 solution. It's designed to precipitate gold from solution. And we use a spot plate. I don't have one here. It looks kind of like this, but with little divots in the top. And we put a half a mil of solution there, 1 drop of KD3, let it dry. And we can tell by the color of the spot that's left. Oh, we do have to centrifuge the sample first to get rid of all the suspended material. But that gives us a KD, Kilo Delta. And it's not available anymore. We got some of the last stuff available. You can use stannous chloride. It doesn't work quite as well, but you can use fresh stannous chloride solution. And Lars is using an aqua regia digestion, and you're using stannous chloride precipitation too, aren't you, Lars? If I recall correctly. But I say that's what we're using on our solution concentrations, which is not highly precise, but it gives us a good enough idea of exactly what's happening to. That's correct, Mr. Virtue. And that gives us a good enough thing. Let's see if I've actually got some here. Oh, might have some in this cabinet. Whoa, holy crap. We got an issue. That was interesting. The bottle has completely broken up. Look at this little one.
Holy guacamole!
I don't know what's going on here. Hold on, folks. I've got a situation I have to evaluate.
He will be right back. Hi, everybody.
Both of them.
Really?
Those bottles have failed.
Well, that's not good since the stuff was hideously expensive and you can't get it anymore.
There's not much damage to the cabinet.
Yeah, wrong plastic choice for the chemical, Alex says.
Kind of obvious now.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the chemical is.
Paul Coover says aqua regia for gold from rocks, ferrous sulfonate for gold precipitation. Something named he was talking to My Adventure. Hi, honey bunny. Yeah. Whatever it was, honey bunny. I don't know if there was actually talc in the bottles. But
what in the bottles?
Talc.
Talc? No, it isn't talc. I have no idea what it is. I think it was.
Well, Alex says people often don't realize how much talc is in plastics. So.
Now this is.
Hi, Mr. Virtue.
This is dried.
Well, no freaking clue, but at least the cabinet hasn't disintegrated or spontaneously combusted or popped into an alternate dimension or anything. Yeah. Okay. So that's good.
I'll get that cleaned up tomorrow.
He's going to get it cleaned up tomorrow. I'll be back.
I think it was a hydrazine sulfate in there, something.
Oh, lovely. Well, spontaneously combust. That could have been bad. I'm surprised we didn't smell it. That's my thing. I mean, that stuff stinks.
There was a chemical reaction somewhere with that plastic. Ferrous sulfonate, huh?
I'm surprised we didn't smell it since that stuff really stinks.
Really? Now that's really, really annoying. You would think that somebody would have figured that out.
Yeah, at the cost of that crap, it certainly is annoying.
My adventure in YouTube. And aqua regia, ferrous sulfonate. Aqua regia, ferrous sulfonate. Okay, I'll check that out. That's
I'm actually really surprised we did not smell that.
Yeah.
Because that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
Wrong odor. Did that come from out at the summer lab? Or is our summer lab KD3 still running around somewhere?
No. If it's running around anywhere, it's over at Lauren's. Hey, Lauren, are you watching? Now, I know that we got the little dropper bottle still in the hood there, but I'm wondering. Hey, Lauren. I'm not sure if we have any of those full bottles of KD3 out there. I think all we have is that little dropper bottle of KD3, but you might want to take a look. All that stuff kind of stacked up behind the couch there. Oh, it was the bottle from the supplier, Honey Bunny. Absolutely. But there might be some in the cabinet in the little lab room. I don't think so, but you might want to take a look. Yeah, I mean, by holding them upside down, we can show you. See, this is the label from the supplier, and you can see that didn't last too well. I have no idea. I suspect not, as it was kind of the last of the stuff. My guess is this was a different bottle. You might want to check yours, Lauren, but I mean, yours was around for a long time. Anyone else who bought any, I would suggest putting, if anyone got some of that KD3 recently, I'm not sure who might have, but I know there's a couple people. Put it in an HDPE bottle right away. Absolutely. Something's going on there. Don't know what. They're pretty thin plastic to begin with, but that clearly, whatever the substance was, I thought of that too, John, but I looked at it's just in a kitchen cabinet, and the surface of the bottom of the kitchen cabinet does not look like it's contaminated with anything except the white material from those two bottles. It's not like something else got to it as far as I can see. Now, there is a lot of dried material there. And so I can kind of scrape that up, and then we can try redissolving it and filtering it and then putting it in another bottle and see if it works again. But yeah, that's rather annoying. Wow.
That is bizarre and unaccountable shit right there.
Yeah, that's pretty bizarre stuff. And I don't know why the bottles themselves are kind of lined, it looks like, with the dried chemical in there. Oh, it's a relatively cool, dark location. I mean, this is, hey, blind dude, it's in the kitchen, so it's not cool because in, normal temperatures here. But out at the summer lab, it would have been in, 30 below zero, so that wasn't going to work too well. Very, very strange. Okay, I'll have to clean that up tomorrow.
Write yourself a note.
Now I got the bottles sitting right there where I'm going to see them. I'll get that in a Ziploc bag. Well, I wish I did, honey bunny. No, that was the precipitant, not the Lixivant. Yeah, I'd say it'd be really nice to have a really nice lab with a really nice climate control and really nice other stuff too. I say it wasn't. It's a plastic container. It theoretically should have been stable. If you had the right plastic, it certainly would have. And you would assume that the supplier would have the right plastic. For all I know, the bottle supplier changed the plastic without saying anything. Okay, Alex. Little one, I'm getting a little itchy underneath my eyelid here. Could you take over for a minute while I do some washing up?
Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea. Heaven knows. Oh, I got to show y'all something. Hold on. See that? My newest kookaburra. And I got it for the same price that a generic ounce would cost. Brand new. And see, no Chuck number 3. It's Queen Elizabeth. And the last one's made with her effigy on it. I was so stoked. Because nice looking silver at the price of a generic round for one of these babies is very, very normally not happening. So it was a good day. Yeah, he's doing something over there. He's washing himself up very well, Kodak. I don't know how well it's going to work, but since he was starting to itching all over the place.
No, just whenever I touch my face.
Well, Mr. Virtue, let me put it this way. I'd rather look at the British hag, as you call her, than that putz Chuck number 3. Chuck number 3 is going to be a crappy king. What can you say? Oh, man, Chris, I'm sorry. Hi, Chris. Well, Chuck Norris would look good on some silver, yeah. No, as a general rule, I am always happy when I can get a hold of a good Perth mint product for a good price. It should be noted that American Silver Eagles are hideously and ridiculously overpriced. As a matter of fact, it's positively insulting what our mint charges people for doing their constitutional duty. But oh well, what can you say? He's back again.
Hey, Chris.
A Black Pine Mine, Montana? Oh man! Where do people find this cool shit? I want one.
Anyhow, yeah, I had a little itch starting here, and I thought I probably touched it with my hand. So I just washed everything real thoroughly. And everything seems to be stable now. But anyhow, that's interesting. So go to My Adventure on YouTube there, and they're using aqua regia and ferrous sulfonate as a precipitant, huh? So I'm not sure how well the ferrous sulfonate. Yeah, I know, honey.
I don't want to mess with aqua
Hey,
regia
Chris.
anyway.
Ferrous sulfonate is a precipitate for an aqua regia solution of gold. You think it has potential for the Eco Goldex solution? Yeah, or unknown. You bet, Kodak. Yeah, it's pretty easy, especially if you get it like underneath your fingernail. I don't think so. Yeah, so I had two pints here, and I think that's all the pints we had. I've got some solid residue left, and I think I'll see about dissolving it in water and yeah, I don't know what it is. Why there's a different. Yeah, I can give it a try if I can find some ferrous sulfonate. What is? We don't know what it is. It was. Oh, I know who it was. It was Tricky Dicky. I think he got some too. But it's a precipitating solution. Somebody made up some kind of a test for gold where you had elixivant, and then you used the KD3 to precipitate it. And depending upon what the color was, it would tell you how much gold was in it roughly. I'm sure we could there, Alex. Yeah, ferrous sulfate, but not ferrous sulfonate. What is the difference between the two? I'm not sure, but it's clearly a different world. No, it's not from the Eco Goldex guys. It's a totally different thing. You make it from sulfamic acid and nails, huh? Well, I can look at the thing and check it out.
What the heck is sulfamic acid?
Yeah, Paul, I got it written down. I'll check it out. That's what he said. Sulfamate or sulfonate. It looks like an N instead of an M. M, huh? Okay. So anyhow, gonna have to check that out, see what it is. Again, we're just we did get results with the. You're welcome, Portland Kemsky. The stannous chloride worked, but the KD3 worked better, which is why we were using it. So I'm not sure exactly what's what the residue that's in the bottles that's left is, or whether it'll work or not. But we can give it a shot to rehydrate it and stuff. Now I'll work on that tomorrow morning. Get it on eBay for $15, huh? Okay. I'll watch the video first and go from there. It's powder you use in water, huh? Hey, we'll see, because it'd be nice if it would work directly on other solutions too. That would be nice if it works in the if it works on the Eco Gold X and Aqua Regia. That could be interesting. More tests, more things to check out.
Oh, absolutely.
Now's a good time to do it, since we're not doing anything else. Well, that gives me something to do tomorrow. Yeah, when Tricky Dicky shows up, we'll need to. He's probably not going to show up today, because he's going to be out in the. Yes, we have hydrazine sulfate. Convert it to hydrate form for precipitate. How do you convert it to the hydrate form? Oh, so Romus is my adventure? Okay. Sounds good, Lars. So how do you turn the hydrazine sulfate into hydrazine hydrate, Chris? Yeah.
Preferably without blowing yourself up. Just saying.
Okay, Paul. Yeah, it gets kind of frustrating when you get, it's nice when people give you a nice clean formula for stuff. But yeah, we need something we can use on that Eco Gold X, or we're going to have a problem. So let's say we'll get on it here tomorrow.
In terms of our spot test for the tank?
Yep, we need that spot test, because without that, we don't know what the resin's doing.
Yep.
So absolutely, say we'll need to figure something. I say that the stannous chloride will work. It just started snowing there, Alex. Honey mixed with something else to test for golden solution. Never heard of that one.
It's not snowing here.
No.
But it's getting misty. It's getting.
Sugar did not work. Never tried sugar. Isn't sugar used to precipitate silver? I don't know. Just putting the hydrazine sulfate over clean resin should do the trick. Would that be in solution, Chris? Is that what you're saying? Huh. Okay. Well, we got work to do, that's for sure. So I also need to get the residue from these bottles and dissolve it and dry it and everything. That gives me something to do tomorrow, a little one in the afternoon. I got those 2 smelts I'd like you to do. Make aqueous solution of hydrazine sulfate, run it over the resin. Sulfate ion gets absorbed and leaves the hydrate. Okay. Should be easy enough.
Okay, and what's the concentration of this hydrazine sulfate we're making?
Less than saturated.
And what do we do with the hydrazine hydrate?
Use it as a precipitant is what Chris is talking about.
And is it in the habit of spontaneously combusting or dissolving things?
Possibly.
Okay. I would just like to know in advance.
I probably ought to get some more HDPE bottles. Wondering if I got any more of those amber glass bottles.
I believe you do. I think we got some empty ones in our collection of stuff.
I understand, Alex. Yeah, I'm not sure because we left a lot of the dry chemicals at the summer lab, didn't we, little one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It may be out there at the ranch. I'm not sure where. So I think the hydrazine sulfate's probably out at the ranch.
I am entirely unsure. I do know that we you were concerned with picking up the wet stuff.
Yeah, we didn't want things that'll freeze. We also got the resin out of there. It's across the street.
Oh. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
You're not using terminology I understand, Mr. Virtue. I know what an empty energy level is, but not an empty nucleus. So I'm not sure where the communications failure is occurring here. But yeah. Well, at least I got plenty to do tomorrow.
Yeah, rooms and my dentist appointment, and then out to the lab.
For small gold, he is 60 mils of hydrochloric acid. NaAO3? I don't know. My brain's like that right now. Sodium nitrate? Okay. Well, so that would be your nitrate ion. That'd be interesting. Sodium nitrate instead of nitric acid, huh?
Don't you make sodium nitrate when you saturate nitric acid with salt?
No, you'd have to react it with salt. Yeah, it's a nitric acid substitute.
Okay. Well, we gotta find some sodium nitrate, I guess. We got potassium nitrate.
Yeah, we got potassium nitrate.
Saltpeter.
Do we actually have potassium nitrate?
KNO3.
We got that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I use it all the time. In my smells. Niter.
She uses potassium nitrate, so we could probably use the potassium nitrate instead of sodium nitrate.
With a big dang tub of it.
Yeah. So we got potassium nitrate. It would probably work instead of sodium nitrate, I would think. What do you think, Chris?
What are we doing with it?
Using it for the nitrate in a aqua regia substitute. You basically use muriatic acid with potassium nitrate instead of muriatic acid and nitric acid. Again, you're looking for that nitrate ion. Okay, that would make sense.
Because I believe you said you didn't want to be messing with aqua regia very much because the stuff's nasty.
Yeah, and aqua regia is kind of pain. But this, you'd be making it just for what you're using. You'd be basically making enough for that to take care of that sample. I really don't like hydrochloric acid just because it's so obnoxious. I mean, it's hard on the mucous membranes. Sulfamic acids dissolve in water, then add some nails and put on heat. Calcium nitrate can be convenient. H2SO4. HCl is compelled to fume. It doesn't love to. It's its nature.
Stink bombs.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at that and get some. Because as I say, well, we're looking for a good precipitant, and if it'll precipitate gold out of a aqua regia solution, sodium metabisulfite, I wonder if that would work on that. Hey, Lauren, if you're still here, do you have any sodium metabisulfite? We could try that as a precipitant also. We got lots of ideas here, that's for sure.
And I hope you're writing them all down.
I wrote down the critical stuff. Sodium metabisulfite would be sulfamic acid and baking soda. We did? Okay. That would make sense, Lauren. Yeah, that's say if the sodium metabisulfite didn't work, I'm not sure that the sulfamic acid will or not. It's worth it.
Well, I know you tried a whole bunch of stuff last winter before we.
Oh yeah, we did. KD3. Yeah, the stannous chloride worked.
The only one I remember seeing any results on at all was the stannous chloride.
Yeah, Lauren, the stannous chloride worked, but the KD3 worked about 3 times better, if I recollect correctly. Would you concur with that? And I'm not sure what's in these bottles. I definitely have a white crystalline residue that's kind of harsh. I noticed that this nostril is a little irritated. Wow, that's pretty tricky, Lars. I don't think I can do that. So I'm not trying to, Chris. I picked up a bottle and things happened. I think that's Kesh Guitars or something like that. I think it's an E in there, Alex.
Well, there's precipitation starting somewhere.
What would the hydrazine salt do, Chris? if inhaled.
Spontaneous combustion?
No, I don't think I'd spontaneously combust. But anyhow, so I'll have to clean that up, and then tomorrow I'll dissolve it and filter it and put it in another bottle. We have to go by what's the name of that place? Oh, Outdoors Warehouse. Sportsman's Warehouse, yeah. They've got the HTPE bottles, I'm pretty sure.
I think we have some empty glass ones.
We may have some empty glass ones. Do we have them here?
No.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Stupid question. If it's in a powder form, can't we transport it in just about anything before we turn it into a liquid again?
I'm going to put it in some Ziploc bags. Okay, but for right now, I'm just trying to wonder. Chris says it's hydrazine, instant cancer and death. Not quite that bad, but bad. I presume it's a very reactive, is what you're saying, Chris. I doubt it's that much of a cancer-causing agent, or it'd be a lot more restricted. I don't think we have an REI here, Alex. Not sure.
I haven't seen one.
But I'm pretty sure the Sportsman's Warehouse will have some. Man, I do have all the filtration stuff. So, we'll just have to play it by ear and be very careful. Let's see. Okay, let's see what he sent me a link. Hydrazine sulfate. Hazards. Safety data sheet. Lethal dose. LD50. 601 milligrams per kilogram. That's not too bad.
Yeah. Ain't bad at all.
General characteristics, blah, 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 personal precautions, accidental release measure. Good Lord. These are not. It's got all kinds of stuff labeled here, but none of it seems to have any details at all.
There should be some clickable links on there.
Not that I see.
Okay.
You're welcome to come over here and show me what the clickable link is when I'm scrolling over it and nothing is doing anything. You know? Section 11, toxicological information. 11.1, information on toxicological effects. Nothing
just store
clicks.
The link somewhere. I will look for the information later. Okay?
Nothing clicks on anything. So then there's a lot of more generic stuff underneath it. This article is a stub. Huh. I don't seem to be able to get any detailed information from it, Chris. Gloves and avoid vapors, white powder in a Ziploc bag. Don't let the cops see it. Yeah, let them snort it and see what happens. See properties. Okay. Let's see here. Click this. Hydrazine, jump to navigation, search, names, chemical formula, odor, density, melting point, boiling point, solubility, properties, chemical formula, molar, melting point, boiling point, solubility, vapor pressure, hazards. Sigma Aldrich. Acute toxicity, category 3. Category 3, whatever category 3 means, dangerous for the environment. Toxic if swallowed, in contact with skin, or if inhaled. Causes severe skin burns and eye damage, may cause an allergic skin reaction, may cause cancer. Very toxic to aquatic life. Has no components considered to be either persistent, bioaccumulative, and toxic, or very persistent and very biological. Okay. According to directive, see full text. General advice: consult a physician. If inhaled, if breathed in, move person into fresh air. If not breathing, give artificial respiration. Take off contaminated clothing and shoes immediately. Wash off with soap and plenty of water. Take victim immediately to hospital. Rinse thoroughly in eye contact 15 minutes because they'll do not induce vomiting.
Yeah.
Most important indications of firefighting, accidental release. I'm kind of presuming it's not a heck of a lot more dangerous than nitric acid. Let's see.
You never know. We will worry about it later. This is going to be short and sweet because I can't get anywhere on the internet right now on my tablet. So
if it caused cancer, they would put it in food and give it to children. Yeah, probably.
True. True things.
Oh, just looking for the hazards of hydrazine.
Hi, everybody. Well, apparently the universe has decreed that the goddess must go only on clairvoyance and sheer intuition this week because my tablet is refusing to behave on the internet. And my laptop computer is not on at the moment, and lately it's been refusing to behave as well. So that's the way things go. Hi, Paul. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Mr. Virtue. Hi, Honey Bunny. Hi, Kodak. So, some stories you might want to look up on mining.com. Apparently, a gold mine in Argentina is temporarily shut down at the moment because somebody done made off with $1 million worth of gold, which is probably like a little, a little Comex bar, a kind of cute little thing. A few troy pounds here or there. Anyway, that should be an interesting story. In another interesting semi-metal related story, apparently, in I believe it was Philadelphia, somebody stole about 2 million dimes from a vehicle, an armored vehicle that was apparently parked in a Walmart parking lot. Now, I want you to visualize this here. We're talking $200,000 in dimes. For a little bit of math here, it's about 10,000 pounds. Somewhere pretty darn close to 10,000 pounds, if not more. So it's got to have been more than one dude. And they had to have had something more than a couple of pairs of hands and a really positive attitude in a pickup truck here. So the goddess has to wonder, just out of sheer curiosity, the goddess has never seen an armored, semi-sized armored vehicle before. I'm sure they exist because you pretty much would need one to hold a lot of dimes. That because there was a whole lot more in there than they stole. The goddess has no idea why this vehicle was just randomly parked in a Walmart parking lot. And the theft was randomly caught on video along with like spilled dimes all over the place. Quite interesting. Normally, if somebody was gonna rob an armored vehicle, you'd think they would be taken off with the bags of fiat. The goddess can only assume that they were not taking off with the bags of fiat because those scandalous bank people are in the habit of, you know, sabotaging the bags of fiat with those little exploding things of purple dye. And the thieves may have figured nobody's going to booby trap a bag of dimes. I don't know. I really don't. But it's entirely bizarre, you know? Mr. Virtue, that was my thought too. Tow truck. The only problem was the truck that had the dimes in it was still left in the Walmart parking lot. I would love to know the entire story behind that thing. I really would love to know how that came about. Of course, that's not the only weird thing happening in big cities of late. I mean, apparently last night in some part of Los Angeles called Compton, which seems to be a rather sketchy neighborhood, a bunch of freelance economists decided to get together in a large group and overrun a gas station and make off with everything that wasn't nailed down, along with a whole hell of a lot of gas. They completely overpowered local law enforcement. What local law enforcement showed up? I mean, it's not like there was a whole lot of it. They may well have been doing a copycat thing because you may have noticed that there has been 2 or now maybe 3 nights of wild teenage partying in Chicago. The current outgoing mayor of Chicago said this was really not all that chaotic and, really not all that bad. The incoming mayor of Chicago said that he absolutely condemned the violence, but we need to realize that the violence, massive numbers of arson crimes, burning of cars, attempted murder, and other random associated felonies being committed by these partying teenagers was because they have been robbed of safe, adult supervised community activities in their neighborhood. So this is all the taxpayers' fault. No clue. And in case anybody has missed the news, our dear and beloved friend Dylan Mulvaney, the one who likes to dress up like a 12-year-old girl, is still marketing beer and other weird things to preteens and teens on TikTok, and still marketing women's sanitary supplies. The goddess still wonders how he knows anything at all about tampons. Now, this is the thing. If they'd had any sense at all, they could have had multi-billion-dollar marketing campaigns here. Picture the scene. Dylan Mulvaney celebrating her first birthday as a real girl with a nice sorority type party in her bedroom where all the real girls are drinking their Bud Light and admiring each other's nails. And then somebody has a feminine accident and they skip into the bathroom and they say, "Ooh, Dylan, you are the best girlfriend. Look at these amazing sanitary supplies and these Ulta eye palettes. Ooh, you're such a good girl." That's the way this campaign should have been done, people. Okay? Just saying. That's the way this campaign should have been done. Actually, I think that men probably could market sanitary supplies if they actually did that. You have the dude who brings home the beautiful girlfriend for the romantic dinner that he cooks her. And then he entertains her with a perfect chick flick. And she has an emergency and she says, "Oh my God, I forgot my pretty pink box at home." And he says, "Don't worry, honey. I've got you covered. Go check my bathroom cabinets." And in addition to all the Trojan ribbed condoms ribbed for your pleasure, there's a full line of feminine supplies. Because I got to tell you, happiness for a chick is running into a dude that actually understands when you give him the name for the exact feminine supply you want because for some reason you can't go to the store, that it's a really bad idea to deviate from there. And happiness is having a dude around who doesn't freak out when he does actually have to buy them now and then. And doesn't expect you to like wrap them in 5.5 feet of toilet paper and hide them at the bottom of the trash bag and then take the trash bag out and change it even though there's nothing else in it because, feminine supplies are scary. We all know this. So there are ways that these companies could be capitalizing on the LGBTIQA plus mafia thing going on right now. Come to think of it, I hope none of them watch this. I don't want to give them any ideas. Oh well. Yes, paper towels. Paper towels work. 2 balls and a stick. Yeah, feminist supplies. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's the thing is never trusted something that bleeds a week out of each month and live. Yeah. Paper towels, yes. And washcloths. Washcloths totally work. Guys that robbed the guy who was getting the money out of an auto factory vending machines. The mob connected. Then one of the robbers paid off his bookie with coins the next day. Now that makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, that's just... But that's the kind of week we've had in that bizarre world that is news. I will say, I have been hanging out in the Twitterverse more, and things are getting kind of weird in the Twitterverse. Elon is having far too much fun with this whole business of tagging media with the tag they deserve, state-sponsored media. For some reason, PBS, now it started with NPR. National Public Radio is very proud of telling everybody, and has been for decades all over their website and in their fundraising stuff, that they receive a significant portion of their operating funds from federal funding, but the rest comes from you and your generous gifts to support our cause for fair and balanced radio. Okay? They were always proud to admit this until Elon put an absolutely truthful tag on their Twitter handle that said they were state-sponsored media. All of a sudden, they were massively, massively insulted. So with high dudgeon and a great deal of whinging, whining, pearl clutching, and snorting and plotzing and dying all over the place, they made a statement about journalistic integrity and democracy. And they were removing themselves from the Twitter space because of this deep, horrible, terrible label that they've been given, which is like rude and injurious and everything else, even though it's absolutely 100% true. Well, not to be outdone, PBS entered the fray. PBS was also given the tag state-sponsored media. Mind you, this is public broadcasting system. Taxpayer-funded, state-sponsored media. Always has been. Always. So they released their own heartfelt rejection of the Twitter space and said that they were withdrawing from the space because of this horrible thing. And, well, the BBC got the same label. And Elon posted on Twitter and said, if any of these reporters want to come and talk to me, you can show up at Twitter any damn time and talk to me. And much to his shock, and I'm sure inner glee, a reporter came slithering out of the woodwork from none other than BBC and tried to put old Elon on the spot about censorship and about the importance of handling misinformation in the social media sphere. So Elon beat him to a metaphorical pulp with the sad facts of the situation and rendered the skinny little dude absolutely speechless and looking rather shell shocked. And then the little BBC dude just kind of skittered off and went back under his rock or wherever they go when they're not being a royal pain in the butt. So in the middle of all this, our friend Viva Fry, who you may know because he and Robert Barnes have an amazing channel together on Rumble and on YouTube and elsewhere. So Viva Fry put out a nice little rant that said Elon needs to hit the Canadian Broadcast Company with a state-sponsored media tag because they're absolutely the propaganda arm of the government. Well, Viva was in shock and awe when very, very shortly, as in within hours, the same day, the CBC got their tag. The CBC was not amused. Jordan Peterson was very amused. He tweeted about the tag too. So now we're in this interesting world where genuine state-sponsored media companies who have always bragged about being state-sponsored, who have always been proud of the fact that their government supports fair, honest, and balanced journalism by giving them tons and tons of money, are now, for some reason, unaccountably insulted or offended by being called what they are. You know, there are quite a few people in this modern world that get insulted or offended if you tell them the truth about themselves. No idea what's up with that. But in other wonderful news, silver has now held a new nice little floor at right around $25 plus or minus a cent or two, and has been trending upward for about 11 days now. This is looking really great. Gold today closed flat on 2000 again. If we keep over this 2000 and we keep pushing this resistance on 2000 on gold and 25 on silver, then we've got us a new floor. And they're both still on sale at your local LCS. Good luck finding them online. I can tell you most of the online dealers are sold out of all the good stuff right now, and premiums are going up again. You do not want to know what people are charging for American Silver Eagles. You really don't want to know what they're charging for American Gold Eagles, which is insulting and offensive to any United States citizen, but what can you do? That's just the way it is. 2024 is definitely going to be a wild ride, I'll tell you. It is just really, really something. It's going to be just fairly ridiculous out there. It is interesting to see that circling back. Yeah, I'm channeling Jen Psaki now. Circling back on the idea, people seem to be getting damned upset and offended when you tell them the truth, which is kind of funny. You're cooking a lot more computer chips, huh?
No, it wasn't.
Premiums today at our store were 5 over spot on generics. And anything over 5 ounces, it starts going down. If they still had a 1,000-ounce bar in stock, it would be $1.50 over spot. Face value, 21 times face on 90% constitutional, 11 times face on 40% constitutional. Cole Morgans and Cole Peace dollars are still a flat $30. So if generics go up and the Coles, Morgan, and Peace stay the same price, then I'm going to be loading up the truck on the Morgan and Peace, because our Coles are actually not Coles. Most of them are better than average circulated grade. I mean, they're not slab. Some of them have been cleaned, but they are in dang good shape. They are not slicks or anything gross like that. Philharmonics, Perth Mint Products, Britannia's. Are you all right back there?
Yeah.
And Maple Leaves all run about 8 over spot. ASE's, the new ones, are running 11 to 15 over spot in store, and that's only because they bought them on the last dip. except for the colored ones, those are running 9 over spot. You do not, they actively are not ordering ASEs for the store anymore. They're ordering them for customers if customers want them, but they're not ordering them for the store anymore because it's too much of a friggin' ripoff. Not that it hasn't been a ripoff for forever. Okay. I mean, that's just the way it is with American Silver Eagles. They're a ripoff. Absolutely. Hate to say it, but that's just the way it is. Huh. But basically, those are the premiums. Now, that kook I got today, that was the one and only style of kookaburra that they had on sale because they had overloaded on a whole bunch of them during the last dip. So I got it for like $3 off what another kookaburra of a different year would have cost me, a modern one. They did have some older kooks there. Libertads were, as always, hideously overpriced. Serious sticker shock, even though they are one of the most beautiful coins ever made. I mean, they're just, the sticker shock on those is extreme. Just,
Tell them about that bill.
oh. And we saw there is a collection that they have there of antique currency, silver certificates, gold certificates, etc., and certificates from the various state national banks. Okay, the kind of banks that went away in 1913 and such when the Fed came into being. Well, there was one bill there, a $20 silver certificate from the National Bank of Helena, Montana. There was only like 7,000 made. There's only 16 left in existence. This is one of the best looking ones in existence, and it was $1,200. And I'll tell you, oh boy, that thing was beautiful. Oh, so pretty. I gotta go get it, Mr. Virtue.
Keep wondering what's going on here. Show us again.
This is the 2022 Australian kookaburra. It is actually a beautiful finish when you see it in person. Last one with Queen Elizabeth on the back. And oh, it is pretty. I mean, it is a very nice reverse cameo design. It is just gorgeous. And that one was on sale, so it's mine. And no, we don't have any of those, blind dude. Those went south a long time ago. Continental drift is most definitely a thing. All my solid land masses moved downward and outward. It's tragic. It really is. Just saying. Wow. Kodak, that sounds really cool. This particular one from the First National Bank of Montana was issued in 29 before the crash, as a matter of fact. But they also had some they also had Federal Reserve Bank of Missouri, Federal Reserve Bank of Missoula, First National Bank of Missoula. Really cool. I mean, they are gorgeous currency notes. Unfortunately, that particular form of collecting is way out of my price range. Besides, if I had that kind of money, I'd be buying Morgans. Got to buy the Morgans, you know. But it is just, they were just beautiful. It is very nice to see well-preserved, old school silver and gold certificates. They also had an actual 1 gram gold note that was about yay big. It was not a gold back. This was not gold fumed onto plastic laminate. This was really thin gold that looked like a $100 bill. A gram of gold. 1 gram of gold. For, what was it, $110, Bear?
I think so.
It was $110. They also had a little gram of solid gold that we could have bought for $75. But yeah. Honey Bunny, I used to have silver certificates. I never had a gold certificate, but I used to have silver certificates. It's like $2 bills. Every time I have a good collection of $2 bills going, a random string of financial disasters strikes out of nowhere, and I end up having to actually spend them. And it's like, bummer. You know that every single time. No, I don't have any Trump bucks yet, Mr. Virtue. If I can ever find one, I'll get one. Every single time I get a good collection of $2 bills going, I end up having to spend them for something bizarre. It's just really stupid. I never got a gold certificate either, Paul. I've always wanted one, and I've seen quite a few of them in various collections, but I never got a gold certificate either. Hi, Indiana Gold Getter. I'm sure you do have addictions, blind dude. We know what you're like. But anyway, so we are now seeing that apparently the left not only is allergic to truth, but when you actually point the truth out to them, after they've been bragging about it for years in various other contexts, when it's actually pointed out to them in a context that they dislike, they get very, very annoyed. It's bizarre and unaccountable. It really is. There's a whole lot of that bizarre and unaccountable shit going around. Now, in other news, currently where we are, the average ratio between regular gasoline and regular diesel is down to 60 cents a gallon. This is not good news, okay? So you want to keep an eye on the ratio in price between the difference in price between your regular gas and your diesel.
Hi, Scotty.
In a healthy, well, in a fairly normal economy, the difference in price is about $1. When you start getting down into that range where there's only about a 50-cent difference or they flip, you got economic issues going on, people, which you may have noticed is becoming more common these days. Along with this random surplus of some weird beer. And I mean, there's a serious surplus. When we went to Winco, they had innovative pillars of beer as end caps, far more than they usually do. And not just in the alcohol section. There was a beer end cap in the meat section. There was a beer end cap next to the Mexican food aisle. There was a smaller beer end cap on the other end of the meat section. Random excess beer end caps were showing up. Just little, obelisks, if you will, or columns made of beer. All one particular company's beer, along with full cabinets of that particular company's beer. But I will say this, our Lewis and Clark local craft brewery beer is selling like hotcakes, and they have a brand called Miner's Gold that supposedly is really good. The goddess refuses to drink beer since all beer is disgusting. However, apparently Lewis and Clark Brewery makes a really good Miner's Gold beer. And it's selling very, very well these days, just everywhere. Walmart also had excess beer end caps this last week, and eggs have gone up again. Eggs will continue to go up again. This may turn out to be a persistent problem in the egg department. Nothing would surprise me at this point. But what it comes down to is stock your pantry, start converting that dang fiat to silver and gold, back up the trucks, get it in the house because it's on sale. Because if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Bye. Bye. I'm going to have a soda heavy day today, probably.
I'll give it a shot. Was that the one that I saw? Who was it? It was kind of funny. Yep. Chris says bye.
Bye, Chris.
Why am I doing that? Oh. Anyhow,
Anywho,
so I have cleaned up the mess and got it all in a Ziploc for tomorrow. I think I did, Blind Dude. I think it showed there was a new copy there. But yeah, it was pretty good. Did you donate the one to the feminists? I'm so confused, John. Oh, that one. No. He was actually a male doctor. Yeah. I don't know what he did. They might have, raffled it off to the nurses. I have no idea. Really, 350,000 views on your wife's TikTok, huh? Amazing, Blind Dude. Good score. Nice one. Oh,
cool.
yeah.
His wife is a TikTok influencer.
Which one, Blind Dude? But anyhow, yeah, I was just looking at my statistics, and Where Does Gold Come From is doing pretty good again. I don't know why the algorithms are doing, promoting it again. But I think it said something like 3,000 views in the last 2 days or something like that. Oh, Blind Dude, you told your wife not to do it. And what did you expect would happen? Anyhow. So,
Is she a dancing nurse? Please tell me she's not a dancing nurse.
no, it was him. People want gold. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, people want gold.
The whole situation is getting a little weird there. For those of you who weren't paying a lot of attention, the intelligence leaks they're talking about, people pretty high up, like say Kash Patel, who was the deputy director of national intelligence, said no 21-year-old military guy had access to that data. First of all, he's a tech guy. He doesn't even get access to the data when he's doing his tech stuff. But the the different things that were in the leak, the only place where all of those things are accessible to one person, so to speak, will be right at the top of the Office of National Intelligence. So that's interesting.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time the ODNI did something like that.
So we're not sure exactly what the situation is, but it's clearly the story is not accurate. Exactly what the real story is, not sure. The whole thing with what do you call it? Twitter. Hopefully Elon. I think Elon was supposed to be on Tucker tonight and tomorrow, and hopefully he's figured out where Twitter got all the money and hardware to expand so rapidly.
Conservative Treehouse has the scoop.
Yep. Actually, they, were talking about it months ago.
They've been talking about it for years.
Yeah. But so that's kind of interesting. John Campbell's had some interesting stuff this week. And of course, I'll say O'Keefe Media Group had some pretty interesting stuff. Life's getting very confusing, but I think this bodes well for the precious metals in general. The world looks like it's diligently trying to divorce itself from dependency on the US dollar. And that creates a situation where we're going to have some interesting stuff in this country. I'm really not sure what the fallout is. I mean, I don't have a strong conviction. I wouldn't be sure anyhow, but I don't have a strong conviction as to what the fallout's going to be, except it's going to be substantial. And I think it's going to work well for the precious metals because I don't think it's going to work well for the value of the dollar. And so we shall have to see what happens there. But as we've been recommending for a long time, be prepared. Be a good Boy Scout or Girl Scout. Be prepared. Weird stuff's coming down the pike. And I honestly don't think that the whole situation, no matter how smart you are, how knowledgeable you are, how thoroughly informed you are, I think this is one of those times in history where it's inherently unpredictable. Where, if you're not familiar with chaos theory, chaos is where minor changes cause huge effects and stuff. And I think we're kind of in that area, Mr. Virtue. But as I say, we're in a situation where it's hard to predict. I saw an interesting one. Haven't confirmed it, but it was about the Battle of the Philippine Sea, and it was in the documentary reported that the Japanese plans for the operation, which became the Battle of the Philippine Sea, were being carried by Yamamoto's successor after he got killed. This guy was in an airplane, went down in a typhoon, and these battle plans wound up washing on the beach in the Philippines, and the rebels found them and gave them to the Americans. So we were tipped off as to what the Japanese plans were. Now, what are the odds of that? But it's these sort of things that can have huge effects in the long run, which are totally unpredictable in the short run. Things like this Dylan Mulvaney thing. You know, how does that shake out in the long run? Because if the people decide that they just don't want to buy Budweiser products anymore, maybe other companies will either decide to take a different tack in their cultural thing, or they may just decide it's just too dangerous to deal with any of it. We're just going to stay neutral and doing other stuff, which I think would be a smart thing right now. I'm personally convinced of that too, honey bunny. And these things, who knows? What you would call the left, the political left, seems to be very good at doubling down when they have a losing plan. Don't ask me why.
Look who's talking. Republicans are great at snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory.
Yeah, but it's a different methodology. They just don't go through, you know. The whole concept of being able to predict things means that, first of all, it's a simple enough situation where you can say, okay, A will lead to B, will lead to C, will lead to D, and there's a low probability of anything that will interrupt that. But when you've got, okay, let's see civilization threatening events. I just had a Carrington event a few weeks ago, missed the Earth, but that could happen. You've got a plausible chance of World War III or nuclear war right now. You've got the United States annoying China when we've already given all our weapons to Ukraine. Brilliant. We've got the US dollar coming back from overseas when we're really in debt. We're letting millions of undocumented and unevaluated aliens come across our southern border. We've got the whole social thing with right now the true honey bunny with the whole transgender ideology. Nobody knows what a woman is stuff going on. You've got social unrest as witnessed Chicago and stuff like this with these liberal cities. Just, I don't know about you. Does anyone live in a liberal city, so to speak? Are these things falling apart as fast as it looks like they are on the news? I I don't know. I mean, I don't live in a large liberal city. Lars might be able to help us out on that one, but it seems like society itself is just kind of coming apart at the seams in places. You have all these things, each one of which would normally be considered a significantly disruptive event to the point where it might be really, really damaging. And we have them all happening at once. Oh, I forgot the medical intervention questions and stuff too, how that works out. Dr. Campbell had some interesting stuff this week. And so you add them all together, and it's like, what are the odds we're going to get out of this smoothly? Seems pretty much, somewhere between 0 and none. You live close to San Jose. So how's it going from your viewpoint, Mr. Virtue? And say, I'm not close. All I see is news. And I have no idea how accurate it is. How are these big California cities changing over time? What's the situation currently as compared to a short time in the past, and what would you expect it to be in the future? Because it looks to me like it's getting pretty close to the point where it's going to be kind of untenable. I don't know, but I mean, I would think that you would want to leave if possible in many of these cities. I mean, take a look at the guy in Austin who got caught up in a crowd of demonstrators, and somebody pointed a gun in his direction. So he shoots him, and then he gets, convicted of murder. I wouldn't want to live in a place where that sort of thing is plausible. Okay. Mr. Virtue says the 5G frequencies can cook brains.
Yeah.
Possibility.
That would not surprise me.
Certain medical intervention might not help either. I don't know.
Well, you got to wonder about that 5G stuff. I mean,
Are you talking New York City, Honey Bunny? Possibly, John? Yeah, I agree, blind dude. Seems pretty crazy to me. Closer to Buffalo? Okay, so not as bad. More in upstate New York there, but still, yeah, if you're getting into Buffalo, probably a big city. Not too, it never makes the news. I've been to Albany.
Albany's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
except Albany's had problems too.
Yeah. So we weren't in the city. She says Buffalo is hell. Okay.
Hey, Bear.
What, little one?
You want to pull out a calculator and do 760 divided by 19?
I'm being called here a minute. 760 divided by what?
19.
19. 40.
Okay. Sheesh.
I think it's becoming obvious to rational people, Honey Bunny, that the two are inextricably entwined and causally linked. You know, um, I say it doesn't seem to be coincidental that they always seem to come together because there's a very logical reason why A should lead to B. Um, but yeah, I have no idea. But it's I say it would look good for the precious metals, but are we going to survive to enjoy? Are we going to be able to operate in that? Like, Jeff is talking about summer after next operating some mines around here. I just don't know how practical it can be to operate those mines depending upon the methodologies used. Gravity separations are fairly straightforward, but if you had, for example, leaching, then you have to get access to chemicals and such, which may be extraordinarily difficult, especially something like Eco Goldex, which comes from China. We may have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. I don't know. Exactly, Honey Bunny.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I want to see if it can be recovered.
And Eva's correct. A lot of chemicals, if we can recover it, that's great. Right now, it may not make any sense economically, but in the future, it may make sense, if not so much uh, economically as it does just, otherwise you can't get it. Yeah, I'm afraid too, Honey Bunny. A lot of reinventing the wheel. We're going to have to adapt a lot of lower tech methodologies. I think a lot of, more like what Tricky does. Um, you know, I agree, Honey Bunny. That's what I'm looking at it. Who is digging mines, Keith? Well, Jeff has got some stuff that has been working. Um, let's see.
Dan's got some stuff.
Dave is looking at some stuff. We're kind of helping him a little bit with that. Jim has got his project that he's working on there, but he's also keeping his eyes open for some gold placer or a hard rock. It wouldn't matter one way or the other. Lauren knows some places, but none of them are available right at the moment. Not too sure. And but there's a lot of people around here who are, call it 2 steps away from mining. They haven't defined an ore body and they haven't defined the metallurgy yet. But they're working on it. A lot of people around here are working on it. There's a lot of ore bodies around here, a lot of played out mines also. Makes it a little harder to figure things out. But depending on the extraction technique, it might not be too hard to get going. I say right now we have the potential problem of getting resin and Eco Goldex, but we got extra last year to get us through kind of the maximum possible season we could have. Everything went absolutely perfectly. How much would we need? So that's kind of what we got. So we've got a lot left over for this year's. Okay. And so, we've been kind of being cautious and trying to think ahead for the last, over 12 months. You know, we were kind of stocking up last winter for last summer if needed. But you really need to look ahead. You need to think quite a ways in the future and anticipate excessive delays or possibly even not being able to get it. Take a look at our KD3. We had enough for years, and then the bottles blew up or broke or whatever. So we don't know. We may have to go to something else. You take care, Paul. We'll do our best. Say, at least with the bottles that failed, I got something to do right now. That's totally unexpected. Let me real quickly do a email to Tricky. Hey, Tricky. My KD3 bottles failed on me. If you got some, transfer it immediately into HDPE. Keith.
Why are we so sure HDPE will work?
HDPE works on just about anything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Teflon. You know, it just works. From the KD3 web, what is this? Doug Poole, how to make your, okay. Let's see. How to make your leach. How to leach your carbonate ore. This is very interesting. Thank you.
What can we make?
Well, somehow we got information on the KD3 and stuff. Well, that shows the KD1 such. Oxidation reduction potential meter. There are many methods for extracting gold. These will make them to work best for us. Okay, so it's got several different directions for getting it out. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I will work on that quickly, Doug. Let's see if I can find. Oops, not there. Come on. Documents, downloads, precious metals value. Unlaunch manuals, polling place. Wow, there's a lot of stuff. Well, I don't see one here that Andras. That's a while in the back there. Image. Well, let's see. It's probably not it, but it might be. Nope. Not good. I'm trying to find that chart there. And let's search for Georgie. Chris Georgie. Stainless, latest, urea. There we go. Okay. And forward this to poll. Okay, don't have that there. Good Lord. Can we get this any more complicated? Oh, fuck. Now, let me just try and redo everything all again just for a second here so I can do something else. Douglas, there we go. Yeah, okay, there we go. D. O. U. What the heck? Why can't it find it? Control C. Over to here. Delete. Control V. Just send it. No results found. Could you, holy crap, could you just fucking Control V, backspace, come on. I hate computers. There we go.
They hate you too.
Okay, Douglas. Your thing should be in your inbox.
They hate you too, Bear. Don't feel bad.
Well, and somebody's been doing a lot of talking while he's gone.
Oh, yeah.
Try using Coke or Coca-Cola to dissolve your ore. Hello, Thalia.
Hi, Thalia. How did school go?
Eva wants to know how school went if you didn't hear her.
And how are the feet?
And how are your feet doing, she says. Well, the Coca-Cola has phosphoric acid. That was probably the thing.
That would be the reasoning. I don't know if it would do any good, but that would be the reasoning.
She says school is going great. Well, that's good, Thalia. Oh, things are going okay here. Really, really boring because of the weather. You know, the roads are still screwed up.
Montana is not boring.
Anyhow.
Well, I'm glad school is going well. That's great.
She says, glad school is going well, Thalia. My athlete's foot is doing great. I haven't kept keto, but by wearing sandals all the time, the infection has been kept at bay and has returned to how it used to be.
Yay!
Well, that's an improvement. That's the main thing. Thalia, were you aware that Eva broke her back not too long ago? She's not paralyzed or anything. But I haven't seen you in a while, so I'm not sure if you were aware of that or not. She was holding a door open for me in a windstorm, and a serious gust of wind blew the door shut and threw her onto a concrete floor.
It broke the door in half.
And yeah, it broke the door in half and fractured a vertebrae. And
so I can now truthfully say I'm in a back-breaking industry.
Yep. And so anyhow, she's doing okay. Well, she's going to come over here and show you how she's doing.
Hi, Talia.
So that you can see that she's not.
See, I'm still in one piece, kind of, sort of. And look how long my hair is getting. Oh, yeah.
She says she loves the pigtails.
Yeah, it's so cool. My hair is long enough to have breeds.
I think Honey Bunny said she was working hard on keto. I don't know, little one. Would you say I've been very helpful in terms of coming up with recipes to help you with your
Yes.
keto?
You are very, very supportive. You make amazing recipes, fantabulous chicken casseroles. And if you'd stop trying to blow your carb limit, you'd be very, very good.
No, I think I'm very, very good anyway. But no, we've found a couple things that make it easy. Of course, Eva's more disciplined than I am, but they've got some tortillas that are really low in carb. There's some breads that are really low in carb, and
Cauliflower rice.
cauliflower rice helps.
You got to tell them about the chicken casserole you made recently.
Okay, so let me get a audio visual aid here.
He's getting an audio visual aid, people.
Okay, so we found, first of all, one of the problems with keto is you don't have nearly as many options as you do with carbs. And so you're worried about, what would you call it? Food boredom. Okay. And
Only if you have an undisciplined.
yeah, potatoes is not that good for total carbs too, Honey Bunny.
Potatoes are awful.
Yes, I would suggest trying to do without them for a couple of weeks. And so anyhow, we'll make some kind of, Thalia says turpentine helped a lot. We can make any kind of meat. You can put it in the Instant Pot or bake it or whatever. But this, for example, is a nice green chili sauce. You can use Alfredo sauce. You can use gravies, all kinds of things. And you can, that's pretty good, Honey Bunny. By blending those with various meat mixes, I mean, let's see, what have I got here?
What are you gonna tell them about the chicken casserole?
You know,
You got distracted.
Like-
again.
here's pork and vegetables, things like that. That you can add different things to it. And this latest one I did with Eva was I cooked some chicken,
Boneless chicken thighs.
and it was bone. No, this wasn't chicken thighs. This was
No, the
the
last one was chicken drumsticks. The one
this
before
was
that
drumsticks.
was boneless chicken thighs.
Yeah. Cooked drumsticks in the Instant Pot, stripped the meat off, mixed it with the green chili salsa, put in a little bit of regular, paste salsa, and cooked some onions in it, and
A big bag of
cauliflower rice, and then put it in a casserole and some cheese on top. Tastes really good. A little bit of sour cream on top or whatever. Very good. No capsaicin. Sorry, Chris, not for this boy or that lady over there. Okay, you like capsaicin? You can have capsaicin. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just painful. Yes, Eva does the Rebel ice cream also.
Oh yeah, Rebel's good.
And let's say
Rebel's good.
I cheat more than, well, she doesn't cheat at all, basically. But I do at times, absolutely. And she's done very well. It's really helped her inflammation too, more than just the weight. She didn't do it for the weight; she did it for inflammation, which really helped. Honey Bunnies is down to 265 from 325 and aiming for 180. And from what you look like, Honey Bunny, how tall are you? You look like you're about 6 feet, something like that. So 180 would probably be a pretty good weight for your height because you definitely got broad shoulders and stuff. So I'm guessing 180 would be a reasonably good weight for you. It may not look like it on the body mass index thing, but then according to the body mass index, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was in top condition, he was obese.
According to the body mass index thing, Dylan had to get a waiver and get taped by the army because he built so much muscle. He was obese.
Yep. So, you're 5'8" now, but you were 5'11". Wow, you've taken some hits, And so, say, try and avoid carbs, period, and see what happens. Try like for 2 weeks. Honey Bunny, I would suggest. I mean, go real low on the carbs,
Drink Keto-Aid.
like 20 grams a day. Also, let's say Eva says keto-aid. Basically, it means potassium chloride, sodium chloride, electrolytes.
Morton's light salt in water.
She just uses Morton's light salt in water. For me, she adds a little bit of lemonade flavor packet. Yeah. You don't have enough protein to just eat protein straight. Okay, so vegetables can work very well. As I say, we got some bread here.
That stuff's expensive. You can buy meat for the price of that stuff.
Eva says you can buy meat for this, but I mean this is less than 1 gram per slice. So
yeah, but protein is your best friend.
Yeah, but protein is your best friend according to Eva. I can't argue with that.
Well, protein is the only dietary dependent macro.
Yeah.
Whoa. Since he don't know from crap here. Excuse me. Woo-hoo.
Oh, just a second.
Yo. Protein is your best friend. Okay. Well, actually, that stuff toasts up pretty darn good. I will say that. Good night, Kodak. No, protein is absolutely your best friend because you've got 3 macros: protein, carbohydrates, fat. Carbohydrates are so critical to life.
Carbohydrates?
Yes, are so critical to life that you don't ever have to eat them at all. Your body has 2 separate metabolic pathways to make them. You can make them out of protein or you can make them out of fat. They're so essential to life because your red blood cells don't run without them that you never ever have to eat them. We evolved such that we would continue to survive in a 0 carb environment for that reason. Your second macro is fats. Now, fats are essential to life, but there's only 2 types that your body can't make from just any random fat that comes along. Those are your essential fatty acids. So you do have to eat about 50 to 70 grams of fat a day, and it should come from animals because that's the most bioavailable, to get those essential fatty acids that you need for hormone health, for the absorption and utilization of fat-soluble vitamins, etc. That's easy to get attached to your meat. Protein is the one macro that you're completely dietary dependent on. You can't store protein. The only place your body gets protein from is from diet or from recycling body parts that get broken down through autophagy and get reused again. So that's the one thing you always have to eat. This is why when people were kept in concentration camps and were starving to death, the very last thing that started getting eaten by their bodies to keep them alive was their organs. They lost all their fat, they lost everything else up to that point because you always keep running so that you can keep looking for more food. That's the way this works. As to what your two energy macros do, you've got two energy macros, carbs and fat. Carbs are great for two things. They're great for explosive, immediate power and for messing with your hunger signals so that you will get hungry, so you will pack on fat for winter. This is why if you watch our food goes out and eats all the carbs it can find all summer and gets nice and fat and chunky. And then we have hunting season and we fill the freezer. And over the winter, our food is living off its fat in a state of ketosis and getting leaner and leaner. This is why historically Aboriginal people and pioneers and mountain men, etc., were at risk for protein poisoning, or what they used to call rapid starvation, in the late winter, very early spring, because that is the point where man is at his lowest fat percentage for the year, and our food is at its lowest fat percentage for the year. So the Aboriginal people at that stage of their year would literally leave behind all the meat and they would focus on only eating the fatty organs because the animals, their prey animals at that time, any stored fat they had left was interstitially stored around their organs to keep their core warm, hypothermia and such, or in the organs themselves. But they left behind the muscle meat because if they ate the muscle meat, they got sick. Okay. This is why when you eat a good keto diet, unless you're treating epilepsy, you're focusing on protein. And animal proteins come with the right kind of fats attached to them the right way. They're a great convenience food here. Carbs, you never have to eat it all. As a matter of fact, historically speaking, carbs were the diet of militaries, armies on the march, slaves, and poor people. Everybody else, the higher you went up the socioeconomic scale, the more real food you were eating. Go figure. Somehow, that seems to have changed, along with a whole lot of other things these days. But so basically, vegetables are great. I love my veggies. As a matter of fact, lightly steamed garden fresh green beans or canned green beans or frozen green beans make a great pasta substitute. I will say that. Cauliflower rice makes a great rice substitute. I will definitely say that. I have been told, though I haven't tried it yet, that jicama, mashed jicama, makes a great potato substitute. Some people swear by turnips. Personally, I don't like turnips, but this is why the first focus is on protein. The other reason the first focus is on protein is you want to Google something called the protein leverage hypothesis. The few really good clinical studies they did is in the kind where people are trapped in a hospital and are actually in an observed setting rather than your typical anecdotal studies and research they do. Discovered that when you're deficient on protein, you start subconsciously seeking protein. So your carbs go up, but your calorie count goes up too. When people were allowed to eat liberally and eat the way they wanted to, free feed, free range, all you can eat buffet, the people that gravitated toward the protein and fat sources ended up getting less calories per day without weighing and measuring things than the people that had more carbs in their diet, because it goes back to what carbs do. They mess with your hunger signals so that you get hungry more often, so that you eat more, so that you put on fat for winter when there isn't much food growing, there isn't much food stored, and most of your food is either hibernating or a lot harder to find. That's why we're built this way. Anyway, that's the end of that.
They seem to think
The milk is better for you than the spuds. I will tell you that. Yeah. If you're doing a lot of high energy work, my uncles used to nowadays they would call it carb loading. My uncles would have the vast majority of their carbs in the morning with breakfast. Eggs, some form of meat like a pork chop or a small hamburger or whatever, and a small bowl of oatmeal. Then they would bust tail all morning on the farm. Then they would have one sandwich with more meat on the side and one roll with dinner. You know, there was, if you looked at a plate from the old food pyramid before they changed it in the 70s, if you looked at a plate, it was about half meat or half proteins, and then the rest was veggies and a side of carbs. That's like if you talk to Italians who actually live in Italy, the real kind, and you ask them how their grandparents ate, it turns out that an American concept of a plate of spaghetti or fettuccine has about 3 times as much pasta and half as much of the good stuff as the Italians use. It's quite bizarre that way. Really weird. You know? Oh, well, I'll tell you, honey bunny, I used to have massive problems with my favorite veggies because I love broccoli. I love cauliflower. I love tomatoes. I love, cabbage. When I was still eating carbs, they wrecked my guts. I had IBS like you would not believe. Okay. And my guts were always messed up. My diet was getting smaller and smaller every year because I had to keep dropping more and more foods that I actually like to eat because eating them made me very, very sick. I actually thought I was also lactose intolerant because it got to the point where I couldn't drink milk. I could eat a couple of cheeses and I could have very, very small amounts of ice cream, but that was it. I couldn't even eat yogurt. When I dumped the carbs, things got radically different. I can eat all my favorite veggies now. It's so cool. Yeah, can you spell pesticides? Exactly.
is that from the goats, honey bunny?
Yeah, goat milk is different from cow milk.
Yeah. What Eva did was she radically cut her carbs back for a couple of weeks to see what happened, and the reaction, the change was very quick. So that's why I'm saying if you were to try cutting back your carbs for a couple of weeks and just see what happens, it might help. If it doesn't, you could always go back.
Yeah.
But I say,
I mean, if nothing else, try to get back to a more historic food plate where the majority of the food on the plate is not white. I mean, I'm sorry, but
racist.
most of the, yes, food is racist. Most of the white foods that go on a plate do terrible things to your blood sugar. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that very much annoys me, Paul.
Yeah, we're looking into that, and a lot of people are discussing that here locally too. The business of mRNA vaccines in cattle and chickens. They're already starting to do that over in China. We wonder why.
I'm not eating any, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, homegrown veggies. Get some heirloom variety tomatoes that grow in your area. There's nothing like a real tomato. Sheep are cool. I love sheep. I like mutton. I like lamb.
Honey bunny, is your lack of protein due to finances or something else? You know, because you say you can't get the protein, and I was wondering why that is.
And that is one problem that a lot of women have, is women already chronically undereat protein.
Yeah, I mean, we do it by getting cheap, and cooking a big batch of something and eating it for a couple of days.
Yeah, like your pork loin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Say we go
Well,
for the cheap
I'll tell
stuff.
you, if I had the money, I would not be eating factory meat at all because I really do not believe in factory meat. But somebody needs to get a freezer that we can keep at Lauren's house, and then we can try to go in with a couple of people and get a cow. Oh man,
You say a buck? Is that one of your
probably a
goats?
goat.
I know that a buck is also a term for a male rabbit.
Ah, all meat goats, cool.
Yeah.
Goats are pretty good. I mean, I will say they're not my favorite animal to raise. I know that some people absolutely love them, but they do make good meat. They're of a good size.
I mean, we're lucky in that I make enough money from my Social Security and stuff that we can buy the cheap meat. Something $2-3 a pound, and
Yeah, some people aren't into eating rabbits. I mean, I personally have no objection to meat rabbits. I would like to have some meat rabbits just because they are a very efficient they have a very efficient conversion factor for turning non-human usable food into human food. That's like goats,
so do
sheep,
chickens.
cattle. Chickens, yes, but not as much. Chickens are actually the least efficient on the scale. Pigs, if you can get them pastured, but damn, are they hard on land. They are hard on pasture. You have never had real pork. Real pork does not look anything like the stuff you buy in the store.
Could be, but I say we're able to, feed ourselves easily
Yeah,
at the current time.
sheep can be hard grazers, but they're generally sheep are a good animal. All of the ruminants are very good at they are the most efficient at converting things that are not human food into human calories. I mean, ruminant animals are great for that. Yeah, chickens if you can pasture them are healthier than your factory chickens. My problem with the factory chickens and pigs for that matter, monogastrines like chickens and pigs, they really are what they eat. So I would vastly prefer to have them if they've been pastured, if they're eating their species appropriate diet. Then they make good meat.
Well,
Other than that, they don't.
that's unfortunate, honey bunny, because there's a lot of pork out there, and it would be easy to get cross contamination if you went out to the restaurant or
Oh,
something like that.
absolutely. Any of the processed meats you find in the store will probably have cross contaminations.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Chickens are great. I mean, chickens, fowl, poultry of all kinds are really great if you can get them their real diet.
Literal feral chickens, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, they started out life as feral.
Of course. I can see why, honey bunny.
Honey bunny, even if we had the money, I would not be prone to eat at restaurants because in most cases, the food is just not worth it to me.
Yeah.
You take over again.
So I'm very lucky in that I don't have a lot of serious nutritional complications. I'm not like Eva where carbs, can put me in a walker.
Well,
Or-
you were pre-diabetic, and I'd like to keep you not pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
To that age now. Dean.
So great horned owls eat chickens. I can see chicken hawks, coyotes, possums, and raccoons. Do the possums eat the chickens or mainly the eggs? Great horned owls should be big enough to hurt a chicken, I would think. By definition, chicken hawks. Yeah, I say I'm very lucky, and I say that I don't know. Would you call me spoiled, little one?
Yep.
She says I'm spoiled. Uh, but as I work hard to do what I can to make her diet more varied and more pleasant and such.
Well, I don't need a very pleasant diet. You're the one who's so undisciplined you get food boredom.
True, but you don't seem to mind it. Does that mean you want me to stop making you good food?
No. I'm just saying that when the end of the world as we know it comes around, you're the one that's going to be whining.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, honey. Honey. Run turkey or peacocks along with the chicks and some guineas for a decent flock safety. Okay. We got a guy just half a block down the alley over here, and they've got geese and turkeys
And Muscovy ducks.
and Muscovy ducks. And
Yeah, his big Tom turkey likes to escape and go wandering around the neighborhood looking for food.
I wonder if geese would work as a flock protectant too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you had, do chickens and geese get along okay?
Pretty much.
Okay, Eva says so. Because, yeah, geese are well known for being very defensive.
Geese are mean, territorial mofos.
Yeah, peacocks are super noisy. Paul says yes. I guess that means chicken and turkeys get along okay. I mean, chickens and geese. Yeah, because that would geese, the ones I was given, destroyed my crops and tried to kill each other. Well, I can understand. Sometimes things don't go perfectly. Around here, we have loads of Canada geese.
Geese are mean mofos.
You know, she said they had some white Chinese geese, and I don't want any more of them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. You don't have to tell me about those.
Eva says you don't have to tell her about them. I don't know.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm not a fan of geese in the first place, except on the dinner table.
Internal compass of no. I don't recall ever seeing you before, internal compass. Welcome. And I'm not sure what that, what do you call it? Like a smiley face is a what?
Emoji.
Emoji. I'm not sure exactly what that emoji stands for. But yeah, say welcome. If you have any questions on anything, jump right in.
Mining questions.
Well, hello, Compass. Yeah, as I say, this is what often happens towards the end of the live stream. Well, thank you, Compass. I try. It's a hand wave, huh? Okay. Yeah, say if you have any questions on mining or whatever, you can ask them here. We really like it because, like today, I didn't really have much subject matter myself, and but in other times you can just comment on any of the videos. If you don't see a response, the comment didn't get to me because I'm perfectly happy not working the algorithms, and that keeps my number of comments low enough that I can handle them all without a problem. Although during the summertime, it may be 3 or 4 days before I get back to you. But if you if you have a question or something, that's what we're here for, to answer questions. So anyhow, it often degenerates to a certain level of chaos towards the end of the program. Oh,
Strictly our imagination.
We dig holes and try and recover goodies, honey. That's the plan. Sometimes it doesn't go quite according to the plan, but we do have we have a lot of fun when we can get back out in the field once the weather has cleared up a bit and my truck is running again. Shouldn't be too long. Should be less than a month now. They should be here about like the 14th. So
Yeah, I think they're coming right around the time I'm due to have my teeth extracted. We better check the calendar on that.
okay.
Because I have extractions in May,
Well,
4 and 6 in one day, like May 15th or something.
Keith, neurology, Missoula, next month. Dermatology, Keith, dentist, 15th
Okay,
for your extractions.
so I'm having 6 extractions in one day, people.
Yeah, Eva's going to be kind of late up. Is that a Monday?
It's a Monday.
That's a Monday. There ain't going to be no.
Oh, yeah, there will be. Everybody can see my bleeding gums.
Yep. Night, Mr. Virtue. Paul, we use nitric acid to dissolve metallic silver. And once the nitric acid is used up and or neutralized, then we cement it with metallic copper. Just put a chunk of copper tubing or something in there, and it will cement the silver out of solution. You can also, as Honey Bunny says, you can use salt or whatever, and it'll precipitate a silver chloride from silver nitrate. But the problem with that is then if you want to turn it back into metallic silver, if you smelt it, there are significant losses, or at least that's what we found. On the other hand, what we're usually doing with the silver is using it as an in-quart into assaying. We're adding it. So the small particles of silver that we get from cementation are basically ideal. And so copper cementation works very well for us for this particular application. And theoretically, once you've cemented with copper, then you can add sulfuric acid to the copper nitrate solution and form
Copper
sulfate, which you then distill that combination there to get your nitric acid back. And then you can electroplate the copper out of the copper sulfate and get your sulfuric acid back.
And your copper back.
You know? And so, yeah, I mean, you can theoretically recover it. So, let's say, interesting variety of things you can do. But that's basically what we're doing right now. Eva dissolves her parting silver. You know, once she's done an assay and she winds up with a precious metals bead that has silver and gold in it, she dissolves that silver in nitric acid, and then we recover it using copper later and then reuse it for that purpose. And so that's what we do, because that's, you know, where we need it. And we could always, if we wanted to just form metallic copper at that point, you know, we could melt down the cemented copper just fine. And that would work if we wanted to do that. So that's what we do. I think, is Chris here still? If you were to use steel or iron instead of copper, would you also cement the silver? I know the iron will cement copper out of the copper nitrate. So let's say, could you use iron instead of copper to cement out of the silver nitrate solution.
I don't know why you'd want to, but
How do you cement with aluminum? Not sure what you would cement with aluminum, although I've heard it um, can be
you can
used
use
instead of
aluminum
zinc,
to clean silver.
but I don't know. Yeah, according to Street Tips, you can cement the copper from the solution with iron.
We can. We've done it.
I know that you can cement copper from a sulfuric acid solution with iron.
You can cement copper, copper nitrate. You can cement copper
Okay,
from copper nitrate with iron. We've
Chris
done
says he used to use steel wool in a photo darkroom for recovery of silver. Okay. It would make sense, but I'm not really a good chemist. Copper probably gives cleaner results. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to use iron in the first place, but
In case you didn't have copper, it's real easy to find iron.
it's also real easy to find copper.
Yeah, he's using Street Tips always uses copper to cement the silver, but to get the copper back out of solution, he cements it with iron.
Yeah, and we've done that before.
You know,
It's very messy, dirty.
and that's what Chris says. Iron makes a mess.
Yeah, the other guy that Chris sent us the video link to, the chemistry nerd type guy that uses that makes copper sulfate and then plates everything out and gets all his things back.
Uh-huh.
I like his method a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty easy to get scrap copper, or even if you can't get scrap copper, it's easy to buy cheap copper at the hardware store. Not that hard,
Yeah.
but
And if you happen to have some old Canadian pennies, since it's illegal to do this with American pennies, and I wouldn't do that, of course, old school copper pennies will work too.
yeah. Yep. I say copper wire. There's all kinds of places you can get copper, and so that's usually not a problem. But anyhow, that's basically what we do and why we use the system we use. It works out pretty good. We did try the silver chloride one time, and just smelting it back down was a pain. Plus, you wind up with a chunk of copper, and we don't want that for importing. Yeah, a chunk of silver, and we don't want a chunk. We want it in small particles. So the cementation of the silver with copper is just ideal for our situation. It's a single step, and boom, we're already right back where we wanted to be. For now, we're just saving the copper nitrate for later. Oh. Yeah, there was something about that. I know Street Tips did it one time.
What?
The lye sugar trick with silver chloride.
Yeah, we did that once.
Yeah.
We tried it and it was really cool, and I'd like to try it again, doing it with you following the directions better than you did the last time.
Yeah, I say, but it's
you have this habit of not following directions.
It's a pain in the ass, and doesn't why do it hard when you can do it easy?
Oh, I know. I'm just saying I still want you to try it.
Yeah, I don't. I'm too busy doing other stuff. I say we have a system that works in one step.
Oh yeah. I am a fan. Wow, Chris is on here.
Uh-huh.
We got that solar thingy that the cell has apparently gone bad on, that light that's outside.
Eva wants to know, we have a little teeny solar powered illumination light that we have by the steps that's gone bad, and she's wondering how much silver we could get out of that little thing.
I want to know how to get the silver out of it.
Dissolve it. My mother says there was an industry secret, cementing all the metals with aluminum. It made gold look silver. then they smelt it and lose the unwanted metals. It's entirely possible. Aluminum's pretty darn reactive. Chris says, probably not very much silver, but you could try some nitric.
Well, I was wondering if I shredded the stuff, whether the Eco Goldex might be able to pull it out.
Well, theoretically, Eco Goldex can pull silver. My question is, though, when you're doing on electronics, is it also reprecipitating it? That's an interesting question. I mean, we were trying to dissolve the gold off some contacts with the acid thiourea solution. Didn't seem to work well, but what it might have been doing was then reprecipitating on the copper, because that's what I used to test for gold in solution, is a copper strip.
So it may have been replating.
Yeah. So it thins it down to a certain point, then won't go anywhere. Oh. Well, I need to take off for just a minute, so I'll be right back. You guys keep chatting. Sounds like almost like it was raining outside. Let me look. Yep, it's raining.
Huh. We have rain?
It's rainifying.
Yeah. Other people are getting snow. I'm bummed.
Yep.
Not fair. Or rain. Or snow.
Oh.
Oh.
Anyhow. So, I thank you guys for making my day a lot more interesting. I was having a bit of trouble because I was getting very bored today. And I've got some interesting things to work on now. And that'll make the next couple of days a lot nicer. Silver melts a bit hotter than iron. What's the melting point of iron?
Plain old iron? I don't think so.
I don't know. I think iron's hotter than silver, but I don't know.
Silver's like 1763 Fahrenheit.
Melting point 2800 Fahrenheit. Yeah, that's a lot hotter than silver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Iron has a higher melting point than silver, honey bunny.
Or gold.
It's just, sorry, I got it backwards. That's okay. I make mistakes all the time, especially now that I'm getting old and senile. Whoever she is, she'll tell you. You know.
Oh yeah, you're most definitely senile.
Yep.
This is a known fact.
Oh, it's getting really annoying at times too. Oh, that's what the neurologist is all about. I want to check and keep an eye on my. I don't know if I'm just getting old and this is perfectly normal, or if it's more than the usual problems with getting old. I'd like to, have it checked out carefully to make sure. But it's kind of hard. Um, don't want to sound braggadocious or anything, but it's kind of hard to test me mentally because I'm smart enough that I tend to score really high, even if I'm impaired. So it makes it very, very challenging. They'll sit there. And I think the last little quickie test they gave me, I scored 100% except for they gave me like 5 words at the very beginning of the test to try and remember. And I think I only remembered 3 of them. Aside from that, I know I got them all. I say it makes it kind of hard because I used to be able to drive down the road and design things in 3 dimensions in my head while I'm driving and not have a problem. Not anymore. So I say I'm concerned that it's more than just normal aging, but it may very well be. I don't know. So I say we shall see what we shall see. Boy, that lighting doesn't make my chin look very good. I've got little rolls of stuff down there.
Oh yeah. That's because your face was falling.
My face is falling? Well,
yeah,
that
you're
doesn't
getting
sound
that
good.
waddly old person neck like I've got.
I hadn't noticed.
Totally, dude.
Yep.
This is a known fact.
I say, face is falling. That just sounds really bad. Oh. Oh, I've been kind of scatterbrained for a while. Yeah.
He's got a mind like a steel colander.
Yeah. I call it old timers disease. But anyhow, we shall see what we shall see. Uh, I am apparently, that's for sure. Oh well. It's not like I'm on the market, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Space brain, huh? Yep. Anyhow, yeah, we'll see if they can launch that Starship day after tomorrow. That I got up early in the morning to watch that, and then of course they scrubbed it at not the last minute, but pretty close to the end. Yeah, I know what you mean about that, honey bunny. I used to. Driving heavy equipment can be really boring if you can't keep your mind occupied. You're betting on 420, huh? I don't know. I know they say they need at least a 48-hour recycle. Somebody said it had to do with fuel. My guess is, Chris, that loading it into the booster and then offloading again heats it up. And so they got to re-chill it down. That's my guess. I really don't know.
I'm betting on 422. I know Elon would love that.
Yeah, so say we shall see. Oh, anyone else got anything to chat about? You guys really helped out a lot tonight. I say I appreciate it. It was I wasn't having a fun day, but this was an interesting evening.
I will try to get him to do something useful and mining related tomorrow or something.
Yeah, so I'll try. I need to get that stuff out to Lauren's with a bottle and remix. I mean, I recovered almost all of the solids, whatever they were, and Chris says, I almost suspect the issue was manufactured to let Elon launch on his preferred day with the plausible deniability of the official first try on 417.
It would not surprise me. He really does love his memes.
I say that would not shock me either, Chris. But anyhow, I need to. I say we'll need to get a bottle after your doctor's appointment. Dentist. Okay.
Yeah, cleaning.
Okay. And say get a bottle, then head out there to Lauren's, mix that all up, and then filter it. Do you think there's anything besides water in that KD3, Chris? Because I'm thinking if I have the solid compound that was in it, I have to get out to the ranch first, honey bunny. I don't know what conditions. I suspect there's a bunch of liquid water out there now. But without getting out there, I can't tell. I say at latest it'll be next week. Hopefully sometime this week, Lauren and I can get out there. We really need to grab the RC46. We need to try and put the new door on the lab. And while we're there, we can pull out a generator and some pumps and start pumping off some precipitation if it's properly separated from the leach stuff. Yeah, but are those buffering agents anything but a solid is a question. You know? So my thought is I'll just dissolve it in about the same amount of water as it should have been and then test it, see what happens. If it still does what it needs to do, we're in good shape. If not, we got to start working on a plan B, damn it. Did we try just hydrazine sulfate, little one, and the Eco Goldex?
I believe we did.
I think we didn't. It didn't work, did it?
Yeah, it didn't work for crap.
Didn't work for crap. There's got to be something else in there too.
Just saying.
So I really don't know what else might be in there. But I say we'll see. If it wasn't volatile, we should still have it. We'll find out. Okay. Well, I don't see anything new here. Yep. All righty. That's what I'm going to try, honey bunny, and then see what happens. I've got some pregnant solution here I can try it in. That's what I'm concerned about, Chris, but only one way to find out. You know. All righty. Well, everyone, I'm going to call it a night here. I appreciate all the help and the company tonight. Say it really cheered me up. So you guys have a good night and happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. Put over resin or react with lye, huh? Okay. I'll keep in touch, Chris.